of scores from you would be much higher. Okay. But at this point of time, for someone who's for someone who's at your stage of preparation, the preparation level, given your preparation level, this is what we are expected to have scored. Okay. The cutoff marks, we would say that these are the scores at which, if for the CAT paper at this stage of preparation, these would have been the cutoff marks. You would notice that this time we have given cutoffs based on the category. Okay. So if you belong to general category, the cutoff for you would have been a score of 35 in just a second. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the score would have been 35 of QATI, and NCOBC candidate the cutoff would have been around 31, and similarly for SC and ST categories. Okay. Now onwards, you will find that each of the papers we will be giving you the cutoffs which are relevant, which are category wise. The reason is that most of the government institutes have reservation for NCOBC, SC and ST category, and for them the cutoffs are somewhat lower than for a general category candidate. So if you belong to any of these categories, these are the scores which are relevant for you. However, my request to all of you would still be, if you belong to, for example, an SC category and you have scored, let's say, belonging to SC category and you have scored 73, that does not mean you should rest here. Your target should be to first move to this level and then beyond this, because higher the scores, the better are the chances of clearing the, of getting a call. Okay? So just work towards increasing your scores, and hopefully things will fall in place for you. As I said, when we are looking at these cutoffs, we are saying that given the current level of preparation, these are the scores which are expected. Okay. Okay. Typically, when you look at the cutoffs, when you look at the percentile, how much percentile, most of the time you will find that for general category candidates, the sectional cutoffs are between 85 to 90 percentile, most of the time closer to 90 percentile, and aggregate is closer to 97, 98 or 10, 99 percentile. The other factors which come into play when we talk about getting a call, obviously your performance in school and college exam, your work experience. So you need to keep all of those into account. But typically the assumption is that if you get this kind of scores and you have decent academics, you would have got through, you would have cleared the cutoffs and got an interview call. Okay. In terms of percentiles, so Sablani was asking what scores would correspond to these, what percentile will correspond to these scores. So for general category, 35, 47, 89. Okay. General category 35 would have been somewhere here. So 35. Let me just change the color. Yeah. 35. The 47 and 89. Okay. 47 will also be somewhere here. So you can say this is around 87, 88 percentile. Okay. And 89 would be somewhere here. So maybe at this level 92, 93 percentile. Okay. Key thing being, given this level of preparation is what we are talking about. Okay. As I said earlier, the same paper 3 months down the line, if the same paper was given to you 3 months down the line, the expectation of score would have been at least 5 to 7 marks higher for each of the cutoffs. Okay. Okay, let's start with this section. Before we start following the question, my request to all of you would be to focus on 2 or 3 aspects. One, which are the questions which should have been attempted. Okay, it is important to understand this paper. Typically, you don't complete the paper, so the most important thing is to know which questions to attempt. Okay. 2. And second, which question not to attempt. Okay. It is important to look at both these things. Okay. And when we are looking at analyzing a paper, to me this becomes the most important aspect, because if you know which are the questions you should be attempting, you will be able to get a good score, because not only will you do these questions fast, but they will also be correct. On the contrary, if you get into a question we should not be attempting, these are questions which are likely to be difficult for you, or they are going to be time consuming, okay? And hence you will end up spending a lot of time. Even if you get the answer correct, you will end up wasting a lot of time, and which will put you under pressure for the other question, okay? So when we're looking at these, at times I will even tell you, let us not worry about this question. Such a question, if you get in the paper in future, please don't even worry about attempting it. This is a question which should definitely be left. So I'll be talking about questions to definitely which should be attempted, and questions should definitely not be attempted in the paper. I'll be talking about these also. My focus is not so much on the solution. Okay. Sanjana, please check your hardware. There's no problem with the audio for others. Just give me a second. Okay. So I will be focusing on which to attempt, which not to attempt. For questions which should be attempted, I will even be talking about the method to be employed. In some of these, I will probably be giving you somewhat different methods to attempt the question. Yes. So method to be employed is the other part, because you have choices, and if you use the choices carefully, many a times you can get the answer faster without doing too much of work. So these are the things that we'll be focusing on, and some of the questions where the solution is no different from what you have in the solution booklet, I am probably not even going to worry about solving those questions. Okay. So let's get started with the paper. Okay. Let's look at the first question. Now these type of questions are what I always recommend should be attempted. However, the way they should be attempted is slightly different. Okay. The question is, what is the remainder when 1 factorial plus 2 into 2 factorial plus 3 into 3 factorial up to 12 into 12 factorial divided by 13. Okay. Now such questions you cannot solve if you do not know the exact formula to be employed. Alternately, you can solve it only by identifying a pattern. Now please remember, this paper is not about calculation. This is about identifying the pattern and applying it. For example, this question is nothing but, if I can say this is nothing but 1 into 1 factorial plus 2 into 2 factorial plus 3 into 3 factorial up to 12 into 12 factorial divided by 13. So I can say this goes up to n into n factorial divided by n plus 1. Okay. So we check out for smallest possible situation and then check out what happens. For example, when I look at 1 into 1 factorial divided by 2. So n into n factorial up to n divided by n plus 1. This is nothing but 1 divided by 2, or the remainder is nothing but equal to 1. So next step should be to look at 1 into 1 factorial plus 2 into 2 factorial divided by 3. Because we go up to n and divide by n plus 1. Now, I'm sorry, 2 into 2 factorial, this should be 2. So 2 to the 4, 4 plus 1, 5. 5 divided by 3, remainder is equal to 2. Next, check out for 1 into 1 factorial plus 2 into 2 factorial plus 3 into 3 factorial divided by 4. Now this is nothing but, this we already know is 5. 3 into 3 factorial is 6 into 3, 18. 18 plus 5, 23, which is nothing but 23 divided by 4. So remainder is equal to 3. So when the denominator is 4, the remainder is 3. When the denominator is 3, the remainder is 2. So when the denominator should be 13, the remainder should be 12. Now this is a method which you should get into the habit of applying whenever you have questions which can be generalized into a general term, as the case is out here, where you identify a pattern. 1 into 1 factorial, 2 into 2 factorial, check out for smaller numbers, identify a pattern and get the answer. That's a standard technique which is employed by me and by many other people. And then just practice this method. A little later we'll do another question on a similar line. Okay? So from my point of view, this is a must-do question. This is what I would call a round 1 question, which should definitely be attempted and definitely in round 1. And obviously the method to be employed is this, not any other method. Okay. Second question. Average of 5 natural numbers is 150. Okay, average of 5 natural numbers is 150. A particular number among the 5 exceeds another by 100. So if one number is x, the other number will be x plus 100. Rest 3 numbers lie between these two consecutive numbers and they are equal. So there are 3 numbers which are equal, y, and y, and they lie between x and x plus 100. How many different values can the largest number among the 5 take? So we want to know how many different values can the largest among these 5 take. Okay. So let's just check out. We know that the average of 5 numbers is 150, so the sum should be 750. So we can say that if we just look at this, x plus 100 plus 3y should be equal to 750, okay, which is nothing but 2x plus 3y should be equal to 650. Okay. Now we know that y is nothing. Y lies between x and x plus 100. So let us look at simply that I can say y is nothing but greater than x and less than x plus 100. So I can say y is nothing but x plus k. So I can write this equation as 2x plus 3 into x plus k is equal to 650, or 5x plus 3k is equal to 650, or I am sorry, this should be k. Yeah, 5x plus 3k equal to 650. Okay. So how many different values of x are possible? Because for every value of x, you'll have a new value of x plus 100. So the question, how many different values can the largest number take, is the same as saying how many different values of x are possible. For each value of x, you'll have a new value of x plus 100. So that many values of x plus 100 are possible. Okay. Now let's take this forward. We know that 5x plus 3k equal to 650. Okay. Or in other words, x is equal to 650 minus 3k upon 5, or x is equal to 650 by 5 is 130 minus 3 by 5 of k. Now if this x has to be an integer, that means k should be a multiple of 5. Or in other words, the values of k which are possible are only multiples of 5. So y can, which is equal to x plus k, the smallest value will be x plus 5, next would be x plus 10, and so on so forth up to x plus 95. So how many values are possible? 5 ones are 5, 5 19s are 95. From 5 into 1 up to 5 into 19, or 19 values are possible. The key thing out here was to understand that k has to be necessarily equal to 5, or a multiple of 5. Okay. Another thing you could have done was you could have just started putting values of k equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth, and you would have been able to get the answer from there. Okay. Okay. Nivedita will be doing a similar question as question 1 again, and then if still you need question 1, then we'll come back to it. But my suggestion will be try doing it yourself. But we'll come to this question again if required. Okay. Question 3, there is a simple question of there is a simple question of data simplicity. Should not have been a problem. I'm sure most of you would have got it right. So I'm just skipping it. This typically a round 1 or a must-do question. This question should have been done definitely. Okay. Okay. Question number 2. There's someone needs a fresh explanation. So let me just quickly do the explanation for question 3 again. Okay. Just a second. Okay, let me just clear the board, clear my indentation. Yeah. Okay. So out here in this question, all I said was, I'm sure Vishwa Teja, you understand that the two numbers are x and x, or 2x, and the other 3 numbers are x plus k each. So 3 into x plus k. This should be equal to 750 because the average of the number is. The sum of the average of the 5 number is 150, so summation should be 750, which means this is nothing but 5x plus 3k equal to 750, or x should be equal to, I'm sorry, I've missed something. This should have been x plus 100, 2x plus 100, so this should have been 650. Sashi, I have not said y is the highest. The numbers are x and x plus 100. Y lies somewhere in between the two, so I am saying let y be equal to x plus k. So no one has said that y is the highest. Okay? And if we add these numbers, so we have x plus 100 plus there were 3 y's, so 3 into x plus k. This should add up to 750. Or in other words, x plus 3x 5x plus 3k should be equal to 650. Okay. I hope this clears the doubt for Sakshi and a few of you. Now x has to be equal to 650 minus 3k upon 5, which is nothing but 130 minus 3 by 5k. Okay. Now k cannot be only a multiple of 5. So the smallest possible multiple of 5, so then k has to lie between 0 and 100. Because if k is 100 or more, then y will be equal to x, which is not possible. So the smallest possible value of k will be 5 and the highest possible value of k will be 95. Or in other words, 5, 10, 15, you have 19 terms, which will give you the answer, and then the answer is 19. Okay, I'm skipping question 3. Let's move on to the next question. Question 4 should not have been a problem as such, because it's a straightforward application of Pythagoras theorem. But for those of you who are not very strong in geometry, there's not a question you should be starting with initially. You could leave this question and come back to it in round 2. So weak in geometry, you should be doing it in round 2. If you are strong in geometry, this is a must attempt question for you. AD equal to AE equal to 4. BD equal to CE equal to 2. VC is a straight line. Angle ADE is 60 degrees. Find the length of AV. The starting point obviously is you have to draw a perpendicular here and then take it forward from there. Okay. Yeah, that's the way it has just come here. Okay. Okay. So you need to draw the perpendicular and take it forward. It's a simple application of Pythagoras theorem. So let me just skip it. Suffice to say, strong in geometry, please make sure you attempt the question in round 1. If you are weak in geometry, I'm not very comfortable with it. Obviously, it's a round 2 question, but this has to be attempted. A simple application of Pythagoras theorem is what you see out here. Okay. Moving to the next question. If a and b are the roots of the equation x square plus 7x plus 4 equal to 0, where a is greater than b, find the value of 3 upon 2a plus 7 whole square plus 4 upon 2b plus 7 whole square. Now such question can be confusing for many of you, and hence if you have not done a similar question earlier, you should not be attempting it initially. If you have done a similar question earlier, this is a question which should definitely be attempted. Typically when the question says a and b are roots of the equation, that means a straightforward thing which will come to us is a square. If we put x equal to a in the equation, a square plus 7a plus 4 should be equal to 0. Similarly, b square plus 7b plus 4 should be equal to 0. Now the key thing out here is, if you look at the expression whose value we need to find, it is 3 upon 2a plus 7 whole square plus 4 upon 2b plus 7 whole square. Now which is nothing but 9 upon 2a plus 7 whole square plus 16 upon 2b plus 7 whole square. Now the key thing is we need to find the value of 2a plus 7 or 2b plus 7, and both of them would be similar. The reason being that a and b are the roots and they should possibly exhibit a similar kind of relationship. But it means you have to get it from here only. Okay. Now when we are looking at 2a plus 7 whole square, okay. So 2a plus 7, let's look at one of them, whole square is nothing but a square, which is 4a square. Okay. So you could either start by saying, let me take the values from here, 2a plus 7 whole square, 4a square plus 49a square plus b square plus 2ab plus 7 to the 14 plus 28a. Okay. But at the same time, we know that a square plus 7a plus 4 is equal to 0. So we'll have to combine the two of them to get the answer. Okay. So your starting point could even be, I need 4a square. So let me just multiply this particular expression. We know that a square plus 7a plus 4 equal to 0. So if I multiply both sides with 4, we'll get 4a square plus 28a plus 16 equal to 0. Which means I have a 4a square here, I have a 4a square here. 28a here, 28 here. This is plus 16 plus 49. So if I add, this implies if I add 33 to both sides, it will become 4a square plus 28a plus 49 is equal to 33. So this is nothing but equal to 33, and then similarly you can find the value of 2b square, 2b plus 7 whole square equal to 39, substitute and get the answer. So the key thing out here is, the moment you have this, you have to identify what is the operating part. Here the operating part was this, the denominator, because the numerator in numbers are given. Okay. So we similarly will get 4b square plus 28b plus 49 is equal to 33. If you find both of them, you can substitute and get the answer. Okay, there's a question, there's a doubt. Salonian force. Okay, let's go to the next one. Simple question of time and work. I will say this is a definite attempt. This is a round one question and should have been definitely attempted by all of you. If you have missed out on this question, then you have definitely missed out on a sitter. However, some of you may have made a mistake and marked the answer as choice D. Okay? If you have marked the answer as choice D, this is what I would call is a very common error or a silly mistake also. The question is, how many more men? The total number of men required is 225. Answer is how many more? 150 more. So those of you who have got an answer of D, it is primarily because you did not read the question carefully. You were a little careless, and hence it has become a problem. Yeah, Pratik, please write down your doubt here. Okay. So make sure when you are reading the question, you are careful. What is it asking? It is asking how many more men would be required. He's not talking about how many total men. The total men required is 250. Since he already has 75 men, so 225 minus 75 is what is required, and hence the answer is 150. Okay. So be careful. This is a very common thing. Which happens, and request you to be careful about not missing out on simple questions. Abhishek, how do we get? Okay, Abhishek, let me just go back to the previous one and explain it further. Okay, let me just clear this. Okay, Abhishek, I'll quickly do the calculation for you. But it is expected that you do these basic calculations yourself. Look at it this way. If you put x equal to a, you get a square plus 7a plus 4 equal to 0. Now we need the value of 2a plus 7 whole square. This is nothing but 4a square plus 49 plus 28a. So we need the value of this expression. What I have I know that a square plus 7a plus 4 is equal to 0. So I'll multiply this expression with 4. Multiply this with 4. This implies 4a square plus 28a plus 16 is equal to 0. Why did I multiply with 4? Because here I have a 4a square. So first I want to get a 4a square out here. But the moment I multiply 4a, I get 4a square, I also get a 28a. So these two terms are matching. But I need plus 49, I have plus 16. So I will add 33 to both sides. So if we add 33 to both sides, we get 4a square plus 28a plus 16 is already there. Plus 16, add 33 to both sides, this becomes 33. Which implies 4a square plus 28a plus 49 equal to 33. This is what we were looking for. Okay. Similarly, you will find that 2b plus 7 whole square is also equal to 33. Okay, Pratik, I'm still waiting for your doubt. Okay, for question 6, Karina. Karina, what is already written? Okay, Pratik, I have missed your doubt. Pratik, in the previous question, can't we write sum of roots minus b by a? Pratik, that could be a lengthy process. I'm not sure. I've not tried doing it that way because the moment I looked at the question, I started doing it this way. My feeling is this sum of roots, product of roots would be counterproductive, and also if it gives you the answer, it will be lengthy. Just try doing it yourself and let's check it out. Okay. Yes, Pratik, this approach is usually better. That you basically identify what is required and then you move from there. Okay, Karina, you wanted to know. Karina, question can be done using this question 6 can be done using Manday's concept also, but that would be lengthy. It is preferable that you use the chain rule for this particular question. Okay, piece of work has to be complete in 150 days. So effectively the question is saying 75 men working 8 hours a day, 8 hours per day, okay, in 90 days are able to complete 2/7 of the work, or let me say are able to complete 2 units of the work, or 2/7 or 2 units of the work out of, in how many men. Okay, how many more men would he need? How many more men? So let me say X men more are required. So total number of men required now would be X plus 75. In how many more men would be needed to complete the work on time? The work had to be completed in 150 days. So 90 days are gone. 60 days you have to complete the work. Okay. If they work for 10 hours a day, working 10 hours per day. And how much work is left? Out of 7 units, 2 units of work has been done. So 5 units of work is pending. Okay. So it is easier if you work it on the basis of let's say chain rule. So effectively we'll say x plus 75, the number of x plus 75 should be equal to, originally there are 75 men. If instead of 8 hours a day you start working 10 hours a day, the number of men required will go down. So into 8 by 10. Now instead of 90 days you have 60 days available. So if you have to do it in lesser number of days, the number of people required goes up. So into 90 by 60. Finally, earlier there was only 2 units of work to be done. Now 5 units of work has to be done. So into 5 by 2. Okay. So into 5 by 2. Because more the work, higher the number of people. Now this is probably the fastest way of doing it. Man days will give you the answer, but it is going to be lengthy and confusing, and you may make errors. Hence, my request would be to do such question essentially by chain rule or by a direct and inverse proportion, whatever name you want to give it. Okay. Okay. Cube is painted with red colors, cut in 64 identical cubes. 2 cubes are picked randomly from a heap of 64 cubes. What is the probability that both of them have exactly 2 faces painted red? Okay. So now in this question again, cubes. If you are comfortable with the concept of cubes, it is a definite yes. You have to attempt it. If cubes you don't understand how they are broken up into smaller pieces, this question should not be attempted by you. Okay. Now those of you who could not attempt the question earlier but are now clear about the concept of cubes, or if you are still not clear, session would be go through it, understand it, because cubes is a very common item which comes in many papers, and would be helpful if you make sure you understand it, and you will be able to do well in this. Okay. Okay. Otherwise, as per the question, there is nothing great about it. 64 small cubes, and the answer would come straight away. But if you understand how do you break, how many faces would be having how many cubes would have small, how many, just a second. Okay, yeah, how many cubes would have one face colored, or 2 face colored, or 3 faces colored? Just to give you the concept for those of you who are not very comfortable with it, if you look at the cube, okay, a cube which is on the corner, along the edge, on the corner, is the one which would be colored on three sides. Okay, a cube which is on the edge but not on the corner. Okay, so if I look at these 1, 2, 3, 4, this cube will be three faces colored. Now since there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 corners, so 8 cubes would be colored in three sides. So 3 sides colored is equal to 8. This is a fixed number always, because a cube has only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 corners. So the cubes on the corner, they are colored on 8 sides. 2 sides colored. These are the cubes which are on the line or the edge. So this cube and this cube would be colored on 2 sides. So a cube on the edge but not on the corner. So in this particular case, out of the 4 cubes on edge, 2 would be colored on 2 sides. Now how many edges are there? 4, 8 and 4, 12. So this would be 2 into 12, which is equal to 24. Okay. Now for those of you who need to know how many cubes would have one side colored, it will be, again, they will be the cubes which are not on the edge. So these cubes, these particular cubes would be the one which would be the one here. Not on the edge, in the middle. Okay. Now how many cubes would these be? Typically this row would rule out this. So out of the 4 lines out here, 2 would go out from it, 2 would go. So 2 into 2, 4 on each face. 4 on each face, so total of 24 on the cube. Okay. And then similarly by subtraction you can find the number of cubes whose no side is colored. I hope this is clear. There's some question possibly. Okay. Can't hear me, Karina. You'll have to check your equipment. There's no issue with respect to voice. Okay, I don't think she can hear, so let me just write it down to her. Okay. So let's move on to the next question. This one I'm sure you can do. Okay. DI set, should this be attempted? Let's quickly go through it. Bar graph shows the data related to number of people visiting the famous ancient wax museum in Putlabar from year 2007 to the year 2011. Number of male visitors, this graph gave us the number of male visitors as a percentage of total visitors. So if this is 50%, obviously that means the balance 50% are women. In 2008, 75% were men, so 25% would have been women. And the second bar chart, bar is this one. This gives us percentage change in total number of visitors with respect to the previous year. So if in 2006, 100 visitors came to the museum, in 2007 it went up by 20%, so it became 120. Next it came down by 10% and hence became 108, and so on and so forth. So nothing difficult as far as the graph is concerned. It is easy to understand. So when I'm looking at the graph, I'm saying two things out here. One, it is easy to understand. Okay. Second thing which I can look at is easy numbers. Numbers are not difficult. So if it is easy to understand and easy numbers, it means it will not take me time to understand, and my calculation will also be easy, because if it has easy numbers, calculation is not difficult. Okay. So please look at a graph from these two aspects most of the time. That are the numbers easy to handle? If they are easy to handle, we should be looking at doing it. And if they are difficult to handle, that means my calculation effort could be higher, and hence you may not want to do it in preference to and you may prefer doing some other set. Okay. Let's look at the questions also before we decide. Okay. If the total number of visitors in the year 2006 was 46850, what was the number of? Okay, it should not be difficult. Okay. Similarly, the others also. So when you look at the graph per se, you realize there is not a difficult set of data at all and should be definitely attempted. in terms of calculations, I don't think there's much out here. And I'm sure most of you would have been able to do it well. But if there's any issue in any of the three questions in terms of calculation understanding, please mention it. If there's no issue, we'll skip this and move on to the next one. But if any one of you has any problem on this, just let me know and I'll take it up. Okay, there seemed to be problem with respect to the cube question. Let me just go back. Let me just go to the whiteboard and clear the concept of cubes for all of you. Okay. Let me say this is a cube, okay, of n centimeters by n centimeter by n. Okay, so n centimeters by n centimeters by n centimeters. For example, 4 centimeter by 4 centimeter by 4 centimeter, or 3 centimeter by 3 centimeter by 3 centimeter, and it is broken into smaller cubes of 1 centimeter each. Okay, and like this, and similarly on the other side. Okay. So the question now comes: how many sides? How many cubes will have 3 sides colored? And we color all the faces of a cube. So you have a cube, you paint all sides, all the 6 faces of the cube, and then you cut it in 1 centimeter cubes of smaller size. Okay. And then the question is: how many cubes will have 3 sides colored? How many will have 2 sides colored, 1 side colored, and no side colored? Okay. Obviously, if there are n into n into n, you will have n cubed small cubes. So if n is equal to 4, it is 4 into 4 into 4, or in any, which means you will have 64 small cubes. If n is 5, it will be 5 into 5 into 5, or 125 small cubes, and so on and so forth. Okay. So if there are 64 cubes, or the question could also have been there are 64 cubes. 64 cubes means 4 cubes. That means there are 1, 2, 3 cuts required, because if there are 5, we will have 4. For every cut will give you n plus 1 cut cube areas. Okay. So let's just look at how many cubes will have 3 sides colored? 8. Which are those ones which are on the corners? Okay. Okay. So this cube, this is the one which will be colored on 3 sides. So 3 sides are the corner one. 2 sides colored, as I said, this will be colored on 2 sides, this will be colored on 2, this will be, except for the 2 corner ones. Okay. Similarly out here, when I look at 1, 2, 3. So in this side, along this edge, n minus 2, along this edge, n minus 2, along this edge, n minus 2, along this edge, n minus 2. Or in other words, along each of the edge, n minus 2, how many edges are there? 12. So 12 into n minus 2 will be the ones which have 2 sides colored. So if n is equal to 4, this is 8, this becomes 24. If n is equal to 5, this is still 8, but this becomes 5 minus 2, 3 into 12, 36. How many will have one side colored? One side colored will be the ones which are here. The ones which are on the face but not on the edge. Okay. So how many are these? Out of the n cubes like this, along this side, you will ignore these cubes, you will ignore these cubes. So how many are these? N minus 2 into n minus 2. So n minus 2 whole square in each face. How many faces are there? 6. So 6 into n minus 2 whole square. So if n is equal to 4, this becomes 24. If n is equal to 5, this becomes 5 minus 2 is 3, squares are 9, 9 6 are 54. Okay. And the total number of cubes in any case is going to be, if it is 4, it is 64, otherwise it's 125, and this you can find by difference. So out here it will be 48 and 8, 56, 4 plus 4, 8. Similarly out here, 60, 13, 98, 20, 98, and 25, and 2, 27. and which is nothing but 0 sides colored would effectively be nothing but n minus 2 whole cube. Okay. So this is what you need to remember. My suggestion would be just practice it yourself and you will be able to understand the concept. Extremely important concept. Every year, if most of the people would have one question or a set of questions on cubes, a favorite for CMAT as well as for SNAP, and those of you who are looking at CMAT and SNAP as an important paper, then for you it becomes important. So shouldn't there be 4 cubes along each edge? So if there are, let me look at a 4 by 4 by 4 cube. Okay. So 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay. Similarly, if you look at it like this. Okay. And similarly, other things will happen. So if you are looking at this as an edge, there are 4 cubes out here, but this cube is already colored on 3 sides. These are 3 side colored cubes. So there are only n minus 2 which are available for along each edge then. Okay. So if there are n cubes along the edge, n minus 2 will be colored on 2 sides. Okay. Okay. Let's go back to the paper. Okay. So I'm skipping the DI set because this does not seem to be a problem for anyone. So we'll just skip the DI set, but there's someone. Why did we take 12 for 2 sides? 12 for 2 sides, which 2 sides? Okay, why did we take? Because there are 12 edges. This number, you're asking for this 12. No, this is nothing but 12 edges. 1, 2, 3, 4 edges. 5, 6, 7, and similarly on this side. So there are 12 edges in a cube. So each edge has n minus 2, so 12 into n minus 2. Okay. Okay. Moving on to the next set. Okay. What is the highest possible value of n for which 3 to the power 1024 minus 1 is divisible by 2 to the power n? This slightly typing issue seems to be 3 to the power n, and this is 3 to the power 1024. Now 3 to the power 1024 is nothing but 3 to the power 2 to the power 10. Now either you know the formula which has to be applied, or you again go do what we did in the first question. If you go back to the first question, we said let us try checking for smaller values. So let us try checking for 3 to the power 2 to the power 1, 3 to the power 2 to the power 2, 3 to the power 2 to the power 3, and see what is n minus 1, sorry, and check out what is the highest power of 2 to the power n, or what is the highest value of n for which can divide this number. Okay. So what is 3 to the power 2 to the power 1? 3 to the power 3 square is 9 minus 1, this is equal to 8. Okay. What is the highest power of 2 which will divide this number? 2 to the power n divides implies n is equal to 3. Okay. Next is 3 to the power 2 to the power 2. 2 to the power 2 is nothing but 4, so this is nothing but 3 to the power 4 minus 1. 3 to the power 4 is nothing but 3 square 9, 81 minus 1, this is nothing but 80. So 80 divided by 2 to the power n, the highest value of n would be question number 11. Okay. So here the value of n is going to be 64. Okay, 3, 4. Cube n equal to 8. Yeah. Okay. So question number 11. The highest possible value of n for which 3 to the power 1024 minus 1 is divisible by 2 to the power 2. Okay. Okay. So if we divide this, what is the highest possible value of n? Now 80 would have the highest value would be, let's check it out. The 80 is divisible by 2 square, 2 cube 8. 80 is divisible by 2 to the power 4 also. 2 to the power 5 is 32. 80 is not divisible by 2 to the power 5. So n is equal to 4. Okay. Similarly, next one, 3 to the power 2 to the power 3. 2 to the power 3 is nothing but 3 to the power 8 minus 1. Okay. 3 to the power 8 would be 3 square. Okay, 3 to the power 8. 3 square is 9. 3 cube is 27. 3 to the power 4 is 81. 3 to the power 4 is 81. And we need to know 3 to the power 8. So which is nothing but 81 square. Now 81 square, those of you are not comfortable with it, 81 square, 3 to the power 8 is nothing but 3 to the power 4 to the power 2. 81 square is 80 square plus 80 plus 81. Okay. So all I'm saying is the difference between squares of two consecutive integers similarly is equal to sum of the integers. Similarly, if I have to calculate 41 square, I will do 40 square plus 40 plus 41. So this is 161, this is 64, so it's equal to 6561. Okay. So this is nothing but 6560. We need to again check what is the highest power of 2. Now when I look at this, n equal to coming out to be 3, 2 plus 1, 3. Here n is coming out to be 2 plus 1, 4. So my starting point would be to check out whether n equal to 5 satisfies this or not, because when n equal to 5 satisfies this, then we have got that task done. So n equal to 5 means, so if I have to look at 6560 to be divided by 2 to the power n, I am saying my starting point is n should be equal to 5. Why 5? Because the pattern seems to be 2 to the power 1, 2 plus 1, 3. 2 to the power 2, 2 plus 2, 3, 4. Next, hopefully n should be 5, we'll check that out here. So n equal to 5, it is satisfied and I've got my formula in place. Okay. So 6560 divided by 32. 60 divided by 32. This is nothing but 32 2s are 64. 64, 16, 0, 32 into 5. 32 into 5 is 160. Or in other words, 6560 is equal to 32 into 205. So that means this satisfies. 205 will not give me any more power of 2. Hence the answer to this should be this. And for 3 to the power 2 to the power 10, my answer should be 2 plus 10 equal to 12. This is the answer. I hope you have understood this. This is important. And look at this and the first question together. I have employed the same method when I am saying I don't know what the method is, but I will start checking out for smaller values of n and get the answer based on that. Okay. So get into the habit of working with smaller values, identifying the pattern, and then getting the answer. Okay. Two friends, Prakash, Arpit, started running simultaneously from point P. Just give me a minute, please. Just hold on. I'll be off for a couple of seconds. Yeah. Coming back to the question. Okay. Coming back to the question, let me just clear. Two friends, Prakash and Arpit, started running simultaneously from point P in the same direction along the straight running track. The ratio of speeds of Prakash and Arpit was 2:5 respectively. 2 hours later, Arpit turned back and started running backward at 1/5 the original speed. He met Prakash at a distance of 10 kilometers from P. What was Prakash's running speed? Question of time speed distance. Comfortable at time speed distance should be definitely attempted. Not comfortable time speed distance, you could come back to it later or you could leave it. But those of you comfortable time speed distance, definite attempt for as far as this question is concerned. Okay. For those of you who are not very comfortable, let me try to give you a simple way of looking at this question. Both of them start from this point P. Okay. We have Prakash and we have Arpit. Okay. The ratio of speeds of Prakash and Arpit is 2:5. So let me say Prakash's speed is 2x, Arpit's speed is 5x. Okay. 2 hours. In 2 hours, Arpit would have covered a distance of 10x. Okay. speed is equal to distance upon time, or time is speed into distance. So in 2 hours, Alpit would have covered a distance of 10x, while Prakash would have covered a distance of only 4x. Okay. Or the gap between them would have been 6x after 2 hours. Okay. What happens after 2 hours? Alpit turns back and starts running backwards at 1/5 the original speed. So he starts running this way at not 5x, not at 5x, but at x. Okay. Now this distance is 6x. So to look at it this way, the total distance, the speed of Alpit is 5x. He takes 2 hours to reach this particular point, end of the track. So the total length of the track is 10x kilometers or 10x meters, whatever you want to look at. Okay. It's 10x. In 2 hours, Prakash has done only 4x, or the gap between them is 6x. Now when Alpit turns back, he has to start at x kilometers an hour because he's at 1/5. Prakash continues at the same speed. So the gap of 6x kilometers per hour, 6x will be covered in 2 hours again. Because the gap is 6x, the distance between them is 6x. Since they are going towards each other, total speed or the relative velocity will be 2x plus x. So 6x upon 3x. They will take 2 hours to reach here. In 2 hours, they will take 2 hours to meet. In 2 hours, Prakash would have done another 2x kilometers. So in 2 hours, Prakash does another 2x into 2, 4x. Okay. In 2 hours, Prakash does another 4x kilometers. Okay. So we can say, and this distance is 10 kilometers from P. Okay, 10 kilometers. So as per the question, 10 kilometers should be equal to 8x, or x should be equal to 10 by 8 or 5 by 4. So what should be the speed of Prakash? Speed of Prakash is nothing but 2x, which is equal to 2 into 5 by 4, which is equal to 2.5 kilometers. So the starting point here was to start by saying speeds of Prakash and Alpit are 2x and 5x kilometers per hour respectively, and then we take it forward from there. Okay. Moving to the next question. Simple question, but for many of us who are not comfortable with trigonometry or with coordinate geometry, maybe not a very comfortable question. But even if you are not very comfortable with coordinate, it always pays to go through the question, because many questions of coordinate can be solved by substitution. Let's just look at this question. Quadrilateral is formed by the line x equal to 0, y equal to 0, x plus y equal to 1, and 6 plus y. So x equal to 0, y equal to 0, x plus y equal to 1, and 6x plus y equal to 3. So x equal to 0 and y equal to 0 are these two lines, the axis effectively. Okay, this is y axis, this is x axis. This is the line which is x equal to 0, and this line is y equal to 0. So if a quadrilateral has to be formed, the other two lines, these two lines will intersect somewhere. Okay. What is the equation of the diagonal of the quadrilateral that passes through the origin? So we need to find the equation of this. Okay. So obviously this is a line which will pass through origin, so it should satisfy 0, 0. All the four choices, if you put x equal to 0, y equal to 0, are satisfied, all the four choices, so this does not help us. But can you find the point of intersection of these two lines? That should also satisfy, because the point of intersection of these two lines, x plus y equal to 1, so x plus y equal to 1, and 6x plus y equal to 3. So if we subtract, we get 5x equal to 2, which implies x is equal to 2 by 5, and which implies y will be equal to x plus y equal to 1, so y should be equal to 3 by 5. Substitute these two values of x and y, whichever equation satisfies this value, also that is the correct answer. So such question, it is always advantage to go through it once and see if you can solve the question by substitution. Here we know that one of the points which should satisfy the answer is 0, 0. unfortunately all four choices satisfy x equal to 0, y equal to 0. We know the other point of the diagonal will be the one which will be formed by intersection of these two lines. So we find the point of intersection, substitute and get the answer from that. Whichever choice does not satisfy, that has to be incorrect. Okay. So the correct answer for, okay, all of you I'm sure already know the answer, but as a method this is what I would expect you to apply. In the figure given below, ABCD is a parallelogram. E is the midpoint of side BC. Okay. Again, issue is, do you know geometry or not? Comfortable with geometry should be attempted. Not comfortable with geometry, leave the question. Okay. However, for some of you, there's an alternate method which is of measurement. You can measure and approximately get the answer, which we'll be discussing later on. At this point of time, all I'll say is, not comfortable with geometry, there is a question which you should be leaving and not attempting at all. Okay. Let's move to the next question. Question 15. This is a not to be attempted question as far as I am concerned. These kind of questions, a function fx is equal to x plus 1 into f of x plus 1 plus x into fx plus x minus 1 into f of x minus 1. Okay, this is equal to 0. Okay, sorry. This is, okay, let me just clean it up and write it correctly. Okay. Okay. That's it. Oh. X minus 1 equal to 0. Okay. Now this is what we are given. We are given f1 equal to 40, f6 equal to 180, find the value of f14. Now typically these questions will take time because these are 1, 2, 3 terms which are there. So you'll start by trying to find the pattern out of it, f1, f2, f3 to whatever, and we are given x greater than or equal to 2. So x can be only greater than or equal to 2, so it is f1, so this becomes f1 plus 2f2 plus 3f3 is equal to 0. Similarly, you start writing down others also. So typically what we'll write is f1 plus 2f2 plus 3f3. Okay. Okay, let me clean this up. So typically write f1 plus 2f2 plus 3f3 equal to 0. Similarly, if you look at f2, similarly if I take x equal to 3, so this becomes 3f3, this becomes 2f2, and this becomes 4f4. So then you will again write 2f2 plus 3f3 plus 4f4 equal to 0. And so on and so forth. Then you will try to cancel out and get the answer and try to identify a pattern between that. Because we know f1 is 40, f6 is 180, we will try to find the values in between and see where does the repetition happen. Now this typically is time consuming, and this hence is not a question which should be typically attempted in a paper. A question to be done only after you have done everything else and there is nothing much for you left for you to do in the paper. However, if you think there are other questions which you can solve, this is not a question which should be looked at. Okay. Simple question of allegation. Okay. Simple allegation to be attempted definitely. Definite attempt, round one question is what I will say. Okay. So I'm skipping this question because I don't think this needs to be explained. Simple allegation concept is there. This question on the other hand will need some explanation. Okay. A school having 270 students provides facilities for playing 4 games: cricket, football, tennis and badminton. There are a few students in the school who do not play any of the 4 games. Okay, there are some students who do not play any game. It is known that every student in the school he plays at least n games. There are 2 students who play at least n minus 1 games. Or in other words, if there are 5 students who play all 4 games, there will be 10 students who play at least 3 games. What do you mean by at least 3? At least 3 is exactly 3 plus exactly 4. So stone group A exactly 4 plus exactly 3 would be 10. So if there are 5 stones who play all 4 games, then there will be 10 stones who play at least 3 games, which means 10 minus 5, which means 5 stones will play the difference of the two. Look at this way. Exactly. Let me just. Okay, exactly 4 games is equal to 5, let me assume. Okay. Then exactly 4 plus exactly 3 games will be equal to 10. This is what the statement means. Or in other words, if we take the difference of the two, these two get cancelled out. That means exactly 3 will be 5. 10 minus 5. So this is the basic thing which is there. Let's try to solve the question now. Let me clean up. Okay. For every stone, okay, for n equal to 2, 3, 4. If the number of stones who play all 4 games equal to number of stones who play none, okay, how many stones does the school play exactly 2 of the 4 games? So exactly 4, let me assume is equal to x. That means exactly, at least, sorry. Okay, let me go to the whiteboard, that would be easier. Okay. As per the question, exactly 4 games. Let me assume the number of stones are x. This implies at least 3 games should be equal to 2x. This implies at least 2 games should be equal to 4x, and at least 1 game should be equal to 8x. Now what is exactly 3 games? Exactly 3 games means, at least 3 games is exactly 3 plus exactly 4. But we know exactly this is equal to, let me write down here, at least 3 games is equal to exactly 3 games plus exactly 4 games. Okay. Now if we look at these two, the difference of these two would mean, this would imply exactly 3 games would be equal to 2x minus x, which is equal to x. Combining these two, we can say exactly 2 games will be equal to 4x minus 2x, 2x, and exactly 1 game will be equal to 8x minus 4x, 4x. And we in any case know exactly 4 games equal to x. This we already know out here. Then finally the question also said number of stones who play all 4 games is equal to number of stones who play none. So no game is equal to also x. In other words, the total number of stones is equal to 9x. Okay. The question said there are total of 270 stones. So if 9x is equal to total number of stones, which is equal to 270, which implies x is equal to 30. Okay. So if x is equal to 30, the question said how many play exactly 2 games? Exactly 2 games is 2x and 60. So exactly 2 games, 60. Because it is 2x, which is equal to 2 into 30. The important question from your point of view, and the question which you should be revising and making sure similar question coming again, you are able to get the answer comfortably. Okay. Set of DI. Now just compare this DI set with the previous one. In the previous set of data, if you remember, the numbers were easy. This data is not difficult to understand. You have production, exports, total sales, inventory at the beginning, average selling price per unit in rupees per unit. More complicated than the previous one because you have inventory at the end of the year equal to inventory at beginning plus production minus sales. Total sales is external plus domestic sales. So this is a little more complicated data, and the numbers are also much more difficult. So when we compare the first set of data vis-a-vis this set of data, the first set of data is a more preferable set and should be looked at attempted. This one can be done, not a problem, but this is likely to be much more calculation intensive. Okay. So the need to take a call, are you comfortable with calculation or not? Or you would rather do some more question of quant than this set of DI? Okay. Any problem in the set of DI in terms of calculation or otherwise? Okay. There does not seem to be any problem out here. Okay. My suggestion would be, whenever you look at DI sets, go through the questions together before you start solving the question. Okay? Because that gives you some idea as to what kind of calculation is required and what calculation you should be looking at doing together. Okay. So how many given products, inventory at the end of the year 2000 is less than half the production. So here you need to find some value, approximately the inventory at the end of the year. Are we given inventory at the end of the year? No, we are not. But we can find the inventory at the end of the year. What is inventory at the end of the year? Inventory at the beginning. End of the year is equal to inventory at the beginning plus production. So A plus B minus C or minus sales will give you the inventory at the end of the year. Okay. So you need to get this. But should you do it exactly? No, most probably you need to do an approximation, which we can do which is not a problem. Okay, so first thing is you need to have some idea of inventory at the end of the year for all the data points given. For which of the following products is the revenue generated by domestic sales? Are we given the domestic sales? No, we are not given domestic sales. So we will have to calculate domestic sales. Domestic sales you get from total sales minus export gives you the domestic sales. The difference of these two numbers is the domestic sales. For example, LTD 7650 minus 1340. Do you need to find domestic sales for all the items? No, you do not. You need to find the domestic sales only for laptop, LCD, desktop and smartphone. So we can look at this also. Third question. Next year it reduces the production by 75%. I think production becomes 1/4. Total sales of which product can register growth of more than 100%. Okay. Again, you need to check only for these three. Okay. So if we're looking at it, it looks difficult, but the amount of calculation required is not as much as most of us are likely to think. Let's quickly look at the calculation required. Okay. Let's look at this first question. For how many products, how many of the given products is the inventory at the end of the year 2010 less than production of 2010? Inventory at the end is less than production. Okay. So we need to find the closing inventory, and closing inventory should be less than the production. Now what is the closing inventory? It is inventory at the beginning plus production minus sales. So if the production is more than the sales, the inventory will increase. Okay. Here we want to know that is for how many of the given product is the inventory less than half the production. So let us get an approximate value of the production inventory at the end of the year. Okay. So here we need to do it for all. Inventory at the end of the year for LCD would be, opening is 2296, so I'll take it to be approximately 2300. Closing inventory I will put here. Okay. So you have a 2300 approximately here. Okay. Production minus sales to be added to the closing inventory. Production is approximately 16,000 minus 7,500 approximately. So 16 minus 7 is 9, about 8.5. 8.5 and 2,200, 10,200, 10,700. Okay. So closing inventory will be approximately 10,700 out here. Okay. Is it less than half? No, it is not less than half, so this is not a part of my answer. Let's look at the next one. 12,500 minus 12,000. This will go up by 500. 5,400 plus 500, about 6,000. Okay. So desktop comes out to be around 6,000. which is less than half, so it satisfies the condition. Next one, laptop, 21,000 minus 9,000 or 800 approximately. So 11,200 plus the closing inventory of 4,200. 11 and 4, 15, 16, 17,200. So it is about 17,200. Incorrect because we need a value which is less than half. Tablet, same thing, 10 and a half minus, let's say 8,800. So 1,200 plus 500, 1,700 plus 3,600. 36 and 1,700 makes it 37, 5,400. 5,300, 5,400. This again will be more than half, incorrect. Okay. Next one, 11,400 minus 7,400 is approximately, so gap of 4,000. 6 plus 4, 10,600. Okay. Incorrect. Okay. Similarly, you can check out for the others also. So if you look at carefully, the amount of calculation required, though it looks huge, if you work on approximation, it is not a big deal. Okay, let's quickly finish it also. So 12,500 minus 10,500, 2,068 plus 2, 78, 88, 8,800. Approximately 8,800. Data diary is 20,000 minus 10,000. So 10,000 plus 3,200, 13,200, 13,300. Again, smartphone was more than half. This again is more than half. Okay. So 18,500 minus 14,000, so 4,200 approximately, plus 2,300, 4 to 6, 6,500 approximately. Okay, so this will again satisfy. The correct answer for question number 2 is only 2. Okay, so the key thing to remember is when you do it, you keep on writing down the data because this data would be useful in other places. And please notice I have not done the exact calculation. All I have done is an approximation. Okay, next question. For which of the following products is the revenue generated by domestic sales in the year the highest? So we need domestic sales only for these 4 items: laptop, LCD, smartphone, desktop. So let's check out the domestic sales. Revenue generated. So domestic sales will be nothing but product of the revenue and the number of units sold. So laptop, LCD. Let's check out for each one of them. Laptop, LCD, smartphone, desktop. So laptop, LCD. Laptop is laptop. The domestic sales will be the difference between these two. So about 10,000 minus 4,000, it is roughly 6,000. 6,000 into 21,300. So I'll write that down. 6,000 into 20. Laptop is 6,000 into 21,300. into 21,300. Then LCD, desktop, smartphone. Let's look at the other two also. LCD is here. The domestic sales will be 36 minus 13 is 6,300. 6,300 into 19,500. LCD is 6,300. Smartphone and desktop are left. Smartphone is the domestic sales 10,500 minus 2,400, so about 8,000, or rather 8,100, let's say, multiplied with 15,000. 8,100 into 15,000. This was the smartphone is 8,100 into 15,000. 8,100 into, and desktop finally. Desktop is 12,000 minus 4,000, about 8,700, 8,700. So, sorry, 12 minus 4, sorry, 7,700. I'm sorry, into 16,400. 77 into 164. So 7,700 into 16,400. Now either you multiply these 4 numbers or you can take an approximation and check out. Now when I look at these two, for example, let's look at these two. 15,000 to 16,500 is an increase of 10%. While from here to here the decrease is less than 10%. So between these two, this will be bigger. So this will be smaller. Okay. So all I'm saying is if A into B and C into D, what is A into B? I'm saying this is 1.1. C into D should have become 0.9 for it to be equal. If C is less than 0.9, obviously this will be smaller. And if C is greater than 0.9, then this will be bigger. So to put it this way, this increase is greater than 10%, this decrease is less than 10%, this is 4,000, so it's actually a 5% decrease, so this is going to be greater, so smartphone cannot be the answer. Similarly, let's check out the other two. Comparing the 7,700 with 16,400. Okay. From here to here the increase is 63, 77, although a 20% jump. This decline is less than 20%, so this again is greater. And LCD cannot be the answer. Similarly, when I look at laptop, this is again a 7,700 into 16,100. Okay. This is a 30% jump. This decline is less than 30%. Or this decline is less than 30%. So again, this is incorrect. The correct answer is just drop. So what I have done is a simple approximation based on increase. Another thing you could have done is, okay, you could have said, I'm not comfortable with this, let me just check out. So you could have said, let me forget of 2 out here and 3 out here. So 213 into 6, 13 I have checked out. Similarly, this is 6.3 into 19. So do an approximation and still get the answer. But this meant that your answer is one of these 4, so do the calculation only for these 4 and then get the answer. Similarly, you need to check out only for these 3, not for the others, and I'm sure you can do it yourself. Okay. Question 21. For this question, actually the answer was in the question itself. Question 12 can be expressed as a sum f. Its factor is 2 plus 4 plus 6. So if 12 can be expressed as 2 plus 4 plus 6, 6 can be expressed as 1 plus 2 plus 3. 18 should be expressed as 1, 2, 3. 3 times 6. So 3 into 1 plus 2 into 3, 6 plus 3 into 3, 9. 24 should be 6 times 4 times this. 4 plus 4 1s are 4, 4 2s are 8 plus 4. Okay. So frankly speaking, in this question, the answer was in the question itself. Or in other words, all multiples of 6. They will satisfy this condition. How many multiples of 6 less than 100 are there? 16. Okay. So if you look at the question carefully here, it gives you the answer itself. And my suggestion always is look at the question, make cases, start working from there, you will get the answer most of the time. Question 22 is a simple question of HCF LCM, should definitely be attempted by all of you. Looks lengthy, but it is a question that should be attempted for the simple reason you are likely to get it right. Simple question, even if it takes some 10 and 20, 30 extra seconds, you should definitely be attempting it. Question of logs, and I know many of you are not comfortable with logs. But this is basic. So when you look at log question, and until unless you are absolutely uncomfortable and you get petrified when you look at log, you should definitely read the question, at least start the basic process, and if not comfortable, leave it there. Okay? For example, out here, when you say log C, log of A base C is equal to half, this implies C to power half is equal to A, or which implies C is equal to A square. Similarly, when I look at this part, B raised to power 1 by 3 is equal to B, which implies B is equal to B cube. Now we are already given that A is less than B is less than C is less than D. Okay? But we also know that D is nothing but B cube. So let me write this as B cube. And similarly, C is nothing but A square. So this is A square. Okay. So now, what is the minimum possible value of A, B, C, D? Okay, A cannot be 1 because if A is 1, C will also become 1. So 1 is not possible. Minimum possible value of A will be then 2. So if A is equal to 2, okay, so if A is equal to 2, minimum value of B is 3. If A is 2, A square should be 4 and B square should be, and B is 3, so B cube should be 27. So A plus B plus C plus D, this is the minimum value. Okay. Simple application of the concept of logs, not too much of logs out here, but except for the basic definition. So which is why my request to you always would be, until you are completely fearful of the concept of logs, please go through it once and see if you can start doing it. If not, then leave it, but at least look at the question once before you look at anything else, before you decide not to attempt it. Okay. Question of geometry again. Okay. Comfortable in geometry, it's a round 1 question. Not comfortable in geometry, round 2 question. Okay. Not at all comfortable in geometry, do not understand at all, you have to leave this question. Okay. Simple question for those of you who are comfortable or who have a passing understanding of geometry also. So I'm skipping this question and moving on. Question number 25. Anu and Prem start running simultaneously from diametrically opposite ends of a circular track. They ran in opposite direction and met after 12 minutes for the first time. If the distance between them exactly 10 minutes after they start is equal to a quarter of length of track, which of the following is not a possible value of t? Okay. They ran in opposite direction, met after 12 minutes. Okay. So let us draw the figure first. Okay. Now let's look at this way. One person is starting from here, Anu. Same is starting from here. Okay. Now, where there are no conditions given, I can create my own situation which still does not contradict the condition. So let me start by saying, let speed be equal for both, which means speed of Anu equal to speed of Prem. So when they are meeting after 12 minutes, it means they meet exactly at the midpoint. Okay? They will meet exactly here. This is the point of meeting. They will meet after 12 minutes. Okay? At there. Okay? So why am I assuming the speeds to be equal? Because it makes my task easier. Also, nowhere in the question has it been given that their speeds cannot be equal. So there is a generic case which they are discussing. So I will go to my specific case and say, okay, let me assume the speeds to be equal. If the speeds are equal, in 12 minutes, both of them will meet here. Okay? And another 12 minutes, they would have interchanged their position. Another 12 minutes, they would be here. Another 12 minutes, they would be here. Or in other words, in 12 minutes, both Anu and Prem do a quarter of the circle. 1/4 of the circle is done by Anu and Prem in 12 minutes, or they complete the circle or the track in 48 minutes. Okay. Now, if the distance between them exactly 10 minutes after they start is equal to a quarter of length of the track, when will the length of the distance between them be equal to quarter of the length of the track? When Anu reaches here and Prem reaches here. What is this gap? This is nothing but 1/4 of the length of the track. Okay. So they do one quarter of the track in 12 minutes. So this distance will be covered by Anu in 6 minutes and by Prem in 6 minutes. Okay. When is the next time that they will be at a gap of quarter circle? Anu would have come, or rather Prem would have come here and Anu would be here, which is nothing but half a circle, so another 12 minutes. Okay. So after initial first time this will happen, that they have a gap of 1/4 of a circle, is only after 6 minutes. So 6 minutes is the first time, t equal to 6 is the first time when the gap between Anu and Prem will be quarter circle. Next after that, it will be 6 plus 12 minutes. After that, another 12 minutes. After that, another 12 minutes. Or in other words, this will be of the form of 12k plus 6 minutes. So whichever time, if the time corresponds to 12k plus 6 where k is an integer, Anu and Prem, the gap between them will be that of a quarter circle. So the key thing out here to make your life easier was to assume that the gap between Anu and Prem is equal to 1/4 of a circle. So whichever out of these four does not adhere to 12k plus 6 format has to be incorrect. Okay? So this is nothing but 12 into 3 plus 6. So this is correct. 12 6 is 72 plus 6. This is fine. 12 7 is 84 plus 6. Fine. This 12 into 12 144 does not correspond, and this is the correct answer. So the correct answer is D out here. Again, a DI set. Comparing with the earlier one, this is a pie chart. Numbers are easy. Okay. So 20, 16, 21, 18%. But fill in the blanks are there. So we need to fill it up and do it. Such questions are usually easy, and it is always recommended you do them also. Okay. I will not be doing this set of data until someone wants it definitely, because I think it's an easy set. But if someone has a problem, I don't mind going through it. Okay. So no queries I think. Okay, I'm just going through the queries which are there. I'll come back to which are the round 1 and which are the round 2 questions for me. I'll leave them for you to decide for yourself. Okay, some of the queries I have not responded to because fine. Okay, this set has to be. Okay, please explain the 6-minute thing again. It seems I missed this couple of them. Just a second. I'll just go back to the previous one and explain the 6-minute concept again. Okay. Okay, this approach has to be. Let's quickly do this, and I'll go back. Okay, let me just go back to the previous one first. Yeah. Let me just clear the thing, and let me just. Okay. Now very quickly, my starting point out here is that let me assume that speed of Anu is equal for both. Okay. Equal speed is what we are talking of. Okay. If the speed is equal and they meet after 12 minutes for the first time, let me assume Anu starts running here, Prem starts running in this side, so they'll meet bang in the middle. So Anu covers 1/4 of a circle, Prem covers 1/4 of the circle, and then they meet out here. Okay. So when will the gap between them be equal to quarter of a circle? If the distance between them exactly 3 minutes after the start is equal to quarter of a circle, at the beginning, at this point of time at t equal to 0, gap between Anu and Prem is half circle. Okay. Half circle. Now Anu does this distance in 12 minutes, Prem does this distance in 12 minutes. Now what is this distance? This quarter of a circle. So when will the gap between them be equal to quarter of a circle? When Anu has done exactly half of this and Prem is here. Which means Prem has covered half of this and Anu has covered half of this. Then this gap is nothing but 1/4 of a circle. So if Anu takes 12 minutes to reach here, she will take 6 minutes to reach here. Similarly, Prem takes 12 minutes to reach here, he will take 6 minutes to reach here. Or in 6 minutes, the gap between at t equal to 0, they are in the original position. Then at t equal to 6, they will be at a gap of 1/4 of a circle. So at t equal to 6, the gap between Anu and Prem will be 1/4 of the length of the trap. Okay. Now, when is the next time this will happen? Right now, Anu is here and Prem is here. Okay. Now, what will happen? Anu will start running and Anu will come here, and Prem will run and come here. Now, this again means the gap between them is equal to 1/4 of a circle. Now, 1/4 of a circle is covered by each one of them in 12 minutes. So, after this, the next time this condition will be satisfied will be 12. Now, from here to here. So, Prem comes here and Anu comes here. This gap again is equal to 1/4 of a circle, for which they will take another 12 minutes. Anu will also take 12 minutes. So, another 12. So, you will find as long as the t is equal to is of the form of 12k plus 6, the gap between them will always be equal to 1/4 of a circle. And since 144 does not correspond to this format, hence it is the correct answer. Because the question is which of them is not a possible value of t. Okay, quickly going on to the next set of data. Let me just write down here east, west. Okay, let me just transcribe some data from year 2019. So east is 20%, west is equal to 16%, east, west 16%, 20%, okay, 21, 25 and 18. This is 21%, this 25%, this is 18%. Okay. It shows number of students who participate from the 5 regions in the 6 events conducted during sports week. Each student who came to the sports week participated in exactly one event. Okay. At least one student from each region participated in each event. Okay. So none of these blanks is a 0. Someone has definitely participated here. 6 cells of the table are left blank. The sum of missing 6 values is 279. Okay. Now look at what is this value equal to. If you add all of them, 23 plus 45 plus 39 plus 52 plus 21, this will be 180. So I can say this is 180 plus something. Similarly, when I look at the west zone, this adds up to 116. So 116 plus something. Okay. The gaps essentially. Okay. North comes out to be 175. Just adding all of them, 175 plus this blank. Similarly, south is nothing but 200 and 200 plus this gap, and central is nothing but 150 plus nothing. Okay. And the question says the sum of 6 missing cells is 279. That means this plus this plus this plus this plus this plus this is equal to 279. Or in other words, 180 plus 116 plus 175 plus 200 plus 150. Okay, these are the numbers. Plus 279. What is this 279? 279 are these sum of these missing numbers. This should be equal to the total number of students who are participating, and this is hence equal to 1100. So this is the key thing out here. The total number of students is 1100. So what is 1100? Sum of all these numbers. Sum of all these numbers plus 279. Okay, so this is 1100. Okay. Let me just clean part of it so that we. Okay. Okay. So the moment we know this is 1100, so what should be 20% of 1100? The total number of students from east is 20% of 1100. The total number of students is 1100. 20% of 1100 is 220. This summation was 180. This summation of the complete thing is 220, so this should be 40. This is 16% of west is 16% of 1100. 16% of 1100 is 176. That is 160 plus 16, so 176. Okay. Okay. Similarly, when I look at north, so what is the gap out here? This is 170, 116. So if I say this is x and this is y, so I can say x plus y is equal to 60. Okay. Next, if you look at the north zone, 21% of 1100 is 210 plus 21, so 231. Okay. Let me write down for the others also. So this is 275. And 18% of 1100 is 198. Okay. So north zone 231 minus 275, this value will become 25 plus 31, 56. 275 minus 200, this value is 75. And this is 198 minus 150, so 48. So now you can solve all the questions. You know x plus y is 60 and all the other values you have got. So with this in place, you can definitely solve it. No, you don't have an option of writing on the screen in CAD. You will have to transcribe this data on a piece of paper and then solve it. Okay. So this has been done. I hope this takes care of question 21. Yeah. Question 21, what was question 21? Someone's asked. Okay, let me just see on the paper. Okay, question 21 will come back later. Okay, question 21 will come back later, but let's move on right now. So I'm not solving the C question, I'm leaving it for you to solve the question. Okay, okay, question number 28. Now, unlike the previous question of log, this one is a little more difficult and should be attempted only if you are comfortable with log. So my request would be comfortable, attempt. Not comfortable, leave the question. Don't worry about leaving question, it is perfectly fine. If you look at the initial slide, attempting something like getting a score of 35 in QADI, you are clearing the cutoff. 35 means about 12 correct answers. So even if you are attempting only 15 questions and leaving 15 questions unattempted, it is not an issue at all. Okay? Okay. So this question, you have to work your way through. The solution which is given in the solution booklet is the way forward. No shortcut available. But again, attempt only if you are very comfortable with this area. If not, it is a question which you should be leaving and not attempting at all. Question number 29. Lohan sold a table at a profit of 15%. Had he bought it at 10% less and sold it for 21 rupees more, he would have gained 25%. At what price had he bought the table? Now this question, while you can make an equation and solve, it is always useful to check the choices and then do the question. For example, choice A is 800. Let me assume choice A is the correct answer. He sold the table at the profit of, so if cost price is 800, okay, and he sold it at a profit of 15%, the selling price should be plus 15%. 15% of 800, 10% of 800 is 80, plus half of that 120. So the selling price becomes 920. Next the question says, had he bought it at 10% less? 10% less minus 10% would make it 720. And sold it for 21 less, he would have gained 25%. So what is 25% of this? 25% or 1/4 of 720, half of 720 is 360, half of 360 180. So this would have become 900. What is the gap out here? This is 20. As per the question, the gap should be 21. So A cannot be the answer. Okay. Now let's check out choice B. 840 plus 15%. Again 10% is 84. Half of 84 is 42. So 84 plus 42 is 15%, which is 126. So 126 plus 840 is 966. Okay. Had he bought it for 10% less, so minus 10% is minus 84. So 840 minus 84 is nothing but 840 minus 100 plus 16. So 740, 756. plus 15%, 10%, plus 25%. Okay, he would have gained 25%. So plus 25%, 1/4 of 756. Half of 756 is 375, 378. Half of 378 is 189. So 756 plus 189. So those of you who are not comfortable, do not hesitate writing down and doing it. Those of you who are comfortable, you could say this is nothing but 756 plus 200 minus 11. So 756 plus 200, 956 minus 11, 945. So 945. What is the gap? 21 rupees. So this is the correct answer. So such question, it is always useful not to make an equation but check the choices. And checking the choices usually takes less amount of time. In this question, checking the choices is also the right approach because the numbers are also easy. 25% is easy to calculate, 15% is easy to calculate. Yeah. Last question, again, simple question of mensuration, should not be a problem. The choices are also not close to each other, so maybe you could have even approximated the values rather than solving it completely. Okay, so make sure you could, I hope the concept is clear. Since no one is asking for it, I'm assuming the concept is clear. But my request again is, the choices are not close. So if required, do not hesitate in terms of approximating and getting the answer. Okay. Okay. So now let's move on to any question which is there. Any specific question? Any doubt? Okay. Okay. Question 1. Okay. Let me quickly go back to question number 1 because that seems to be an issue out here. Okay, question 1. Let me do this question again. Now this question is nothing but 1 into 1 factorial plus 2 into 2 factorial plus 3 into 3 factorial up to 12 into 12 factorial divided by 13. So I will say this talks about going up to n into n factorial divided by n plus 1. Okay. What is the remainder? Now such question, my approach is always to start with small numbers and identify the pattern. So rather than start looking at 12 up to 12 into 12 factorial, I'll say let me see 1 into 1 factorial divided by 2, or 1 into 1 factorial plus 2 into 2 factorial divided by 3, or up to here divided by 4. Let me see what is the remainder. That will give me a pattern. Based on that pattern, I will try to get the answer. Okay. So let me just do this question for you. Now so the smallest case possible is 1 into 1 factorial. This is nothing but 1. When 1 is divided by 2, because it goes up to from 12 into 12 factorial divided by 13. So it is like saying n into n factorial divided by n plus 1. Okay. So 1 into 1 factorial divided by 2, the remainder will be equal to 1. Okay. So 1 into 1 factorial plus 2 into 2 factorial should be divided by 3 because we are going up to 2, so divide by 3. So this is nothing but 2 2s are 4 plus 1 5. 5 divided by 3, remainder is 2. Similarly, when I look at this thing plus 3 into 3 factorial, which is 3 into 2 6 into 3 18, 18 plus 5 23, nothing but 23 divided by 4. Remainder is equal to 3. So what is the remainder? Remainder is 1 less than the divisor. Okay. So remainder is 1 less than the divisor. So in this case, when this so for the entire question, when divided by 13, okay, so for this thing divided by 13, the remainder should be equal to 12. So for divided by 2, remainder is 1, divided by 3, remainder is 2, divided by 4, remainder is 3, divided by 13, remainder should be 12. This and the other question, which was 2 to power n, which one was that question? Question number 11. Question 1 and question 11, approach is the same. Start checking for smaller values, identify the pattern, and you'll get the answer. Okay, question number 14, someone is asking, so let me quickly go to question 14 and see if something else is required. Question 14, I'll leave it at this point of time. You can go by the method given in the solution. A little later, not now, maybe after a month or so, I'll give you an alternate method for such kind of question. At this point of time, and it may not be worthwhile going to it. Okay, Prateek is saying in DI question I say solve numbers like 33.33, 11.11. I don't think it should be a problem as such. You need to practice them a little. Okay. 33.11, yeah, Nivedita, 33.33% increase means we increase the previous value by 1/3. Absolutely right. Increase of 33.33 means increase by 1/3. Okay. Question 21, someone is asking, so let me do that and then we'll move on to the next one. Okay. Okay, in this question, as I said, the answer lay in the question itself. The question says 12 can be expressed as sum of 3 of its factors, 2 plus 4 plus 6. 12 can be expressed as sum of 2 plus 4 plus 6. Some numbers can be expressed as sum of 3 of their factors. For example, 12 can be expressed as 2 plus 4 plus 6. How many other such numbers are there which are less than 12? So the moment I see that 12 is equal to 2 plus 4 plus 6 and all of them are even numbers, this means 6 should be equal to 1 plus 2 plus 3. 1, 2 and 3, all of them are factors of 6. So this also satisfies the condition. Now the moment you say 6 is equal to 1 into 2 into 3, so what is 6 into 3? 18. This should be equal to 1 into 3 plus 2 into 3 plus 3 into 3. Again factors of 18. So the moment we get this, we can say all multiples of 6 will satisfy the condition. So how many multiples of 6 are there below 100? 16. 6 into 1 is equal to 6. 6 into 16 is equal to 96. So 1 to 16, there are 16 multiples of 6 and all of them should satisfy the condition. Question number 6, let me quickly see what was question 6. Tushar, I'm skipping question 6. I'm sure practically everyone knows it. Request you to just go back to your book and go through the chain rule or the direct inverse ratio, whatever concept you are comfortable with, and just apply that. Still in the problem, just check up with your faculty at your center. Okay. Let's move on to then English. But before we start with English, let us take a small break of 5 minutes just in case you want to get some water, just to relieve yourself, or you want to pick up a glass of water. So 10:56 by my watch, 11 o'clock we'll start with English. So just a short break for all of you. Write it down here for all of you. Okay. For me, round 1 question. Now, these are based on my strengths and weakness. Based on your strengths and weaknesses, you could change. But the way I look at it, for me, when I attempted the paper, for me, the round 1 questions was 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 I attempted in round 2, then 6, 7, I always do all sets of grouped question in round 2. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. These were attempted in round 2 by me. This is nothing but a DI set. Okay. Question number 11 was a round 2 question for me. Okay. Question number 11 was a round 2 question. The method which have been used in question 1, question 2, these are what we call the SUC. Okay. Some of you are aware of it, those of you are not aware. When we do the SUC session, will be aware, but the method broadly come under SUC's methods. Okay. Question number 6, I am just highlighting there's a possibility of error in this question because of carelessness, so I am just citing a careless error or a common error, which depending upon the case that might be true for you. Question 12 again was a round 1 question. Question 13 and 14 I attempted in round 2, and both these again form under the SQC methods for me. Okay. I am talking about SQC methods. I am essentially talking about the pattern recognition, or I am talking about substitution of choices, or not the conventional mathematical method is what I am referring to. Okay. Question number 15. I started doing it in round 2. I quickly left it, did not attempt it. When at the moment I started solving, realized it will be time consuming, left it for round 3. But even in round 3, I did not attempt this question. Okay. So this was an unattempted question for me, question number 15. Question number 16 was a round 1 question for me. Question number 17. Question 17 was a round 2 question. Easy, but yes, I still did in round 2. 18, 19, 20 again is a DI set, so obviously it is a round 2 for me. Question number 21 was a round 1 again. Okay. And again, using the choices or using the question or using the data within the question, again an SQC method. Okay. 22 again is round 2. Round 1, sorry, question 22 is round 1. Okay. Question 23 was a round 2 question. Okay. Question 23 is a round 2 question. Okay. Question 24 was a round 2 question for me. Okay. Question 25 was a round 1 question, and again the method which I have employed is what I call the SQC method. Okay. The SQC part here was assuming that both the speeds are equal, makes the question much more easier, and that is what I am calling a SQC thing. Okay. Then question number 26, 27, a round 2 question, DI. So obviously for me it is a round 2 question always. 28 question was a round 2 question. I left it while it was a round 2 question. Even in round 2 was not attempted by me. So the way to look at it is question 50 and question 28. Both of them are effectively and have not been attempted by me in the paper. These 2 questions I have not attempted them at all. Okay. 28. Okay. 29th again was a round 1 question for me. Okay. And again, usage of choices, which means it's an SQC method. And question 30 again is a round 1 question for me. Or in other words, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There are 12 questions in round 1. Okay. There are 16 questions in round 2. And 2 questions which not worth attempting. In other words, for me, if you give me a question number 15 in future, I'm not even going to attempt it at all. I'm not going to even look at it. A similar question. Okay. Typically, I would say even in CAD, an attempt of 20, 22, 23 is a reasonably good, or a reasonably good, a very good attempt, and that is what you should be looking at. So this is for the QADI section. Okay, let's move on to the VLR part. Okay. VLR is ban on what you can expect in CAD. This is the kind of VLR you get typically in CAD. When I'm looking at the paper, again, my way of doing the English paper is that typically I will look at the usage questions first. Usage question. After the usage part, I will do the LR part. And then I will do RC. Okay, so LR I will not do all 3, I will do 2 out of 3. Until unless all 3 of them are easy, then go to RC, do 1 to 2 out of 3 passages, and then come back and do the LR, the third one. Okay. So that's typically the way. most of the time you will find me not attempting all RC passages. I will typically be attempting maybe 2 passages on the high side, at times or even 1 passage. Now typically usage has 10 questions, okay, and LR has let's say, or rather usage has 11 questions, LR has 9 questions, RC has 10 questions. RC has 10 questions. And out here I will say, given the pattern of last 2 years CAT paper, you should look at attempting all 9 out here. Okay, maybe something like 4 to 5 questions here, and something like 7 to 8 questions out here. Okay? So about 8 and 4, 12. So about 21 to 22 questions is what you should be looking at attempting. Why am I saying only 7 to 8 in usage? Because when in doubt, leave is the pattern, is the suggested method for usage. If you don't do that, you end up with a large number of errors. Similarly in RC, unless you are very good, going beyond 2 passages becomes very, very difficult. So now let's go to the paper. Okay, so I will not be discussing the RC passage. I will not be discussing the RC passage unless there's something specific you want to discuss in the passage. But when I looked at this passage, this was a difficult passage to read. Now, when I'm going through the way I do it is, I said I want to do only the usage part initially. Which means when I'm looking at going to the paper and picking up the usage question, I also come across RC and LR question, I identify them and decide whether I want to do them or not. So when I look at, and I keep making notes for myself. I keep making notes for myself. So on the sheet of paper separately, I will say, okay, RC, I will keep noting down RC and LR. RC, I'll say passage 1, passage 2, passage 3. LR, similarly LR1, LR2, LR3. I'll keep noting down the data as we go along so that I know what to do. So when I looked at this passage, representation not painful, painter's feeble, art form, flickering, not comfortable to read passage for me. Okay. Work of art. So the passage is about art, not something which I'm comfortable reading about. So I just look at the question. Okay, quickly look at the question. Likely artist whose painting is of an event is likely like a photograph. Okay, like a photograph. Deaf man at a concert, so something specific. Subject of a picture. So my feeling out here is passage 1. Subject is art. Not easy to read. 3 questions. Okay. 3 questions. Specific detail. Why I am saying specific detail questions? Because there were 2 questions which are definitely about specific details. Deaf man at a concert, something has been picked up from the passage. Okay. An artist whose painting is of an event look like a photograph. Again, something specific has been picked out. So maybe this can be attempted, but not easy to read. So I will look at those specific things and then move on. Okay. Similarly, when I look at the next passage, okay, this is a DI set, LR set. Fill in the blank arrangement can be attempted. Okay. I'm not attempting it because I'm assuming it is easy and everyone knows how to do it. But in case you do not, you can ask me to do it. I'll do it quickly. But if not an issue for all of you, then we can skip this one. Okay. One of the things which you could look at in this question 36 helps you solve the question also. Okay. Question 36 helps you solve the question. Okay. So those of you who have solved it earlier also, okay. Those of you who have solved the set earlier also, please solve the set again. After looking at question 36. Question 36 will tell you that A and D are incorrect, and from these two, with the help of these two, you can complete the table also. Not that it is difficult to fill it without this. but it can be filled up. Okay. Gunjan is asking, should we read every question thoroughly in round 1? I want you to glance through the question and the passages. I don't want to read the passage or to read the questions of RC. Similarly, in DI or in LR, I want you to just understand the kind of data set. For example, this one is an arrangement data set. So the way I will look at it I will look at the arrangement but mathematical. 3 questions to be attempted. Okay. So that's the data, so that I know which ones to attempt and which ones not to attempt. Okay. Similarly, when I come here, the idea of dense-sided experiments in eugenics. I have some idea of eugenics, so I can discuss. I don't have an issue reading it. But going forward, Summerland, Victorian seekers, Solis, this Darwinism. Again, looks like difficult to read for me. Seems to be going towards an area which I am not comfortable with. It is so psychic. Okay, so when I'm looking at this thing, when I was going through the paper, my feeling after quickly glancing through the passage, science, how will it use? What confusion again could be inferential? Okay, science and immortality. So unfortunately for me, the first 2 passages are something which are not easy for me to read. 3 questions, but here I can see specific details. So if the 3rd passage is also very difficult, then I'll have to choose one of these. Otherwise, it will be 3rd followed by one of these. Okay. Many Americans have distorted conventional bias. Young achievers tutored. Those look like easy. It just looks like a newspaper article or a passage, and hence I like reading it. It looks like picking up some article from a newspaper and then explaining it further. So the language also is easy for me, so I would like to go ahead with this. Goal finding, etc. So when I'm looking at this newspaper article, easy to read. 3 questions. I think I missed out somewhere. One of them has 4 questions to be attempted. So my feeling is I will do this passage, come to this passage, look at those specific things and then do it, and not worry about this passage at all. Okay? Similarly, you need to find a way for you to decide which ones to attempt and how. And why, sorry. Okay? Okay. Again, the question of arrangements, question 43, 44. Arrangement question. Seating arrangement question to be attempted by me, because most of the time, again, look at the data, amount of data is not high. So it can be definitely solved. Until someone wants me to solve it, I am not going to solve it. So no queries on this thing, so we can quickly move on to the next one. Okay. Question number 45. Okay. Question of para completion. What is bad writing? One definition of bad writing is that it only entertains but does not edify. It does not raise important questions regarding political or social ills, but it is instead runs away from them. Put simply, bad writing reinforces popular attitudes, even if it is at the cost of harming a cultural fabric. Bad writing goals are self-serving. So what should come after it? First of all, this is only talk about what is bad handwriting. Or sorry, bad writing, not handwriting. I'm sorry, bad writing. And then it says bad writing goals are self-serving, but it has not defined or told us how, or given an example. So this should logically be followed by an example of how bad writing goals are self-serving, or some explanation of this. So this concept of self-serving has to be explained next. Okay? So we go through the choices. It aims to make money for the publisher and author and win popularity for its author without caring two hoots about the greater common good. could be a possible answer, because this is in a way explaining how the goals are self-serving. Choice B, good writing, especially fiction, this is not lack of continuity. So it is talking about bad writing, it needs to explain that first and then it needs to come to bad and good writing. So there is a lack of continuity, hence choice B is incorrect. Choice C, however, no text and by extension author is universally external. Again, not connected to the passage, this is out of scope. Thus, if good writing is to prevail, no, we are still not on good writing. Lack of continuity, choice D is incorrect. Best option among these is choice A. Okay. Nishant is asking how much time can be spent on each passage. In just quickly glancing through the passage and going through the questions, not more than a minute or and a half is what you need to spend. But if you look at how much time to spend to attempt a passage, about 10 minutes per passage in attempting a passage is good enough. More than enough actually. Okay. Question 46. Okay, another question of para completion. Policy failures come in many shapes and sizes, but they are almost invariably accentuated by the choices that have to be made in periods of financial shortage. Yesterday, the coalition government found itself confronted by two of them. One in policing policy and other in higher education. The failures are radically different in many details, but have this in common. They are both serious failures and they were both foreseeable. They could have been mitigated by clear policy making at an earlier stage. Okay. So it is talking about two specific policy failures and what could have been done. Okay. They could have been mitigated by clear policy making at the earlier stage. Okay. On the policing cut, it is the opinion that Britain has more police officers. Again, this is talking about a specific thing which is not with Britain. For example, nowhere in the passage we know talking about Britain, so Britain is a new introduction. And even if I ignore that, it is talking only about policing when this is talking about at a generic level about both of them, policing as well as higher education. Okay. So choice A cannot be correct. Choice B, instead each has been allowed. So this one talks about each has been allowed. That means it is talking at a generic level about both of them. They could both have been mitigated by clear policy making at the earlier stage. Instead, each has been allowed to fester and become more difficult to solve politically. Continuity is there and it is within the scope, so it can be the answer. Choice C again brings Downing Street thing and do without having any context. Again incorrect. Police number increase, again a very specific case. Correct answer is choice B. Question 47. Another question of para completion. It seems Prime Minister Manmohan Singh's top scientific advisor C.N.R. Rao and his band of merry men, three reputed scientists from top scientific institutions of the country, have been cherry-picking some interesting material from the work of other scientists and passing them off as their own. This is not the first time people, reputed and talented people that is, have been caught doing such things. Often people, the kind-hearted ones, say imitation is actually the sincerest form of flattery. So often people say this, but this should be followed by a but on the other side. But what is the real case? Often people say it is flattery, but in reality it is something else. So look at the choices. But the truth is not many people find it amusing. So yes, this seems to be continuing from the previous sentence. That their work has been picked up and given to someone else without giving them credit could be correct. So we'll hold on with choice A. Choice B, to cut a long and not so plagiarized story short, Indian scientists have apologized. No, this is not lack of continuity. This is incorrect because this needs to complete. Some people say this, but the other people say something else, or the reality is something else. So that but part has to definitely happen. Choice B is incorrect. Similarly, choice C is also incorrect. In other words, scientists forgot to issue. This is lack of continuity completely. This statement could have come a couple of lines before the end. Choice D, but the thing about plagiarism is that it is considered so if the offenders are caught. Again, not connected. Correct answer, choice A. Para completion. 5 sentences are given below labeled A, B, C, D, E. They need to be arranged in a logical order. Okay. Why don't you tell me what are the, let me say, mandatory pairs that you can think of? Okay. Let me just keep highlighting what I think are the important parts. It is demanding. Okay. So this person, it, or the team, or some people, or someone needs to be explained out here. That the party, it back, should establish a working group on violence against women and children in the assembly. So it is demanding, someone is demanding. We need to find out who that someone is. Okay. Statement B. In the run-up for the January 28 polls, for instance, members of Women Action Development are organizing camps in all constituencies. Okay. So in polls they are organizing. So could this it be this? Could be, but let's go forward. Ironically, Manipur has many activist groups led by women. Okay, C and D could be connected because they talks about activist groups led by women, and choice B talks about women action and development. So C, B could be a combination we could look at, but at this point of time, we'll hold on till we go through all these statements. D, true empowerment will happen when women enter assembly in good numbers. D, B, C could be connected, I don't know, because this is talking about assembly, and B is also talking about organizing camps. Okay, but at this point of time, still, I would say C, B seems to be a better combination. E talks about statement E, conflict widows forum is a group made of women who have lost their husbands to civil violence in the state. Okay. Now E talks about civil violence in the state, okay, and A talks about violence against women and children assembly. Okay. So EA seems to be connected, and this it could be conflict one. Okay, so my starting point here is that one CB is a mandatory pair, and second EA is also appears to be a mandatory pair. So CB and EA are what I would be looking at. So CB is not here. Sorry, CB is not here. So this is incorrect because CB is missing. CB is fine out here. CB is missing. So this again is incorrect. CB is here. My second combination was EA has to be a combination. Okay. EA is not available here, so this is incorrect. EA is available here, so this is the correct. So when I'm looking at pair jumble, my approach is always to find a pair, go to the choices, eliminate. Find another pair, go to the choices, eliminate. Do this process till you are left only with one choice, or till you have eliminated 3 choices. So for me, here the connection was A and E. EA has to be a logical pair. A, it is demanding, could be conflict widows forum. A group made of women who have lost their husband to civil violence in the state. It is demanding that the cessation of violence and other things. Okay. Similarly, C and B, activist group led by women. For instance, members of Women and Armed Forces or Women Action for Development are organizing camps. Okay. Okay, there is a question, Pradeep is asking why not BC? Okay, let me just go back to the question. BC, why should it not be the thing? Okay, see, the problem with statement C is I cannot place it anywhere specifically. It could come in the beginning because this line, these 5 statements could be somewhere from the middle of a paragraph. So statement C could be from the beginning, or statement C could be in the end also. So statement C is a very open-ended kind of a thing which can be placed in multiple locations. So which is why I did not look at C per se, okay, as a standalone item. Okay, but when I look at C in conjunction with B, C and B seems to be a combination, more stronger connection. Okay. So, and also when you look at, ironically, Manipur has groups led by women, and this group is talking about something. So from a generic case to specific case seems to be a better option rather than a specific to generic. Okay? So this is about a specific group, this is a generic thing. So from a general to specific is a more accepted thing, and hence BC is not the right option. Okay. Question again, some Samapika is asking us, why not CE? C I am not able to connect to E at all. I am very sure A and E are connected. A and E are connected on account of the violence part. A and E are connected to civil violence in the state, lost their husband, and hence they are talking about working upon violence against women and children in the assembly. Second, it is demanding, it can only be here conflict voters column. So EA rather than CE. Now C, as I said, to me what is clear is EA is definitely on, CB is definitely on. So the moment I have this, I will check out for these. Now CB, EAD, or even if it was EB, ECB, AD, I would not worry about it. For me, what are the key things is E has to be a combo, CB has to be a combo, and then we'll go ahead with that. Okay. Another question of parajumbles, question 49. This made me think about my own cynicism about web activism. The first thing is, what is this? I need to first think. Dot said that he believes some sort of compromise on content of film will be reached so that young people can see the film without seeking parents' permission. Okay, Dodd is a person, we will come back to it. I call Christopher Dodd. C has to come before B. C has to come before B. For the simple reason, Dodd is a short form of Christopher Dodd. A full name will first be given and a shorter form will usually be taken afterwards. So when I am looking at question 49, one of the first things which strikes me is that C has to come before D. Okay. So let's move forward on this. Okay. I call Christopher the former senator who now runs the Motion Picture Association. Okay. Sure, hashtags have come and go, but they probably make the world, the one beyond keyboard, a better place. I'm not sure where this has to come, so I'll not worry too much about it. I expected him to suggest that all online petitioners have failed to grasp the nuance and importance of rating system. I expected him. I called Christopher Dodd. I expected him to say something, but he said something else. So when I'm looking at this, TEB seems to be a mandatory combination to me. Okay. I met Christopher Dodd. I expected him to suggest something, but he said something else. Okay. So CEB, and this made me think about my own cynicism. So CEBA seems to be a very clear thing. But even if you look at only CEB, CEB is not available here, so this is incorrect. CEB is available here. CEB is available here. CEB is available here. Okay. So this made me think. What made me think? What Dot said made me think. So CEBA. So this is incorrect because CEBA is not here. CEBA is available here. CEBA is available here. So now the question is, where should D come? Should it be at the beginning or at the end? Sure, hashtag has come. This looks like more as a closing statement. Hence, I will go with D. Choice D. Okay. So here it was very clear to me that CEB and then CEBA is a mandatory combination, and then we can move on with by. So once you get this, even if you are not sure about where D should come in the beginning or end, read the entire thing, and then most of the time you will be able to get the correct answer. In any case, out here, sure, hashtags has come a long way. Again, this looks like more of a conclusion than an opening statement. Opening statement would have possibly started with saying hashtags will come and go. Show, the word show would have possibly been missing. Okay. Why not CBE? Why not CBE? Okay, why not CBE? CB is possible, I will not say, but then E will not fit in. Look at it this way. I call Christopher Dodd former senator, and then Dodd said he believes, etc., etc. Then I expected him to suggest it does not seem to be logically correct. I called Dodd, I expected him to say something, but he said something else is a stronger combination. Okay. So it is CEB, which is a better combination. Okay, question number 50, again another parajumble. These are not art galleries or studios of art. Again, these are not art galleries or studios of art. What are these? We need to look at. These are something that have been referred to. So we need to first find which are these. Art of an art lover, but restaurants that believe that dash of artwork can do their interiors, can do up their interiors simultaneously promoting the works of an artist. Okay. For over 2 years now, Tangerine Restaurant has been promoting works of art of artists who are looking for a platform, or budding artists who need to add to their collection. Okay. So a particular restaurant has been mentioned, and that artists need to add, they get a platform has been mentioned. Okay. Restaurants in the city are converting their walls into exhibition space, displaying their works of displaying the works of different budding artists periodically. Restaurants are converting their walls. These are not art galleries. These could refer to the restaurants or the walls of the restaurants. So CA can be a pair, but let's just hold on before we jump to it. Okay. Statement D. The once plain walls have an aura as frames holding different colors, themes and mediums adorn them. Okay. The once plain walls here could be a specific restaurant or the restaurant in general. Okay. The works are exhibited on no-cost basis, but the select works do go through some amount of objective judging. Okay. Okay. So works are exhibited on a no-cost basis. Okay. Okay. So statement E seems to be difficult to fit in and seems to be more likely to be a conclusion than or coming with the end of. This is not exactly a conclusion, but coming in the end. Okay. Here I am reasonably sure that CA should be a common pair, should be a combination. Restaurants in the city are converting their walls, displaying the works of different verticals. These are not art galleries. These are restaurants. These are not art galleries or studios of art, but restaurants. So CA has to be a mandatory pair. Sorry, I'm sorry, not CA, D. I think I am getting a little confused out here. Let me just go through it again, because let me just clean it up again and let me go through it. These are not art galleries. Okay, these are not art galleries. Two years now, Tangerine Restaurant. The cities are converting their works. Restaurants are converting their works. Okay, CB has to come together. Yes, CB I am clear. CB is together because restaurants in the city are converting their walls, displaying works of different budding artists periodically. Now a specific case, so from a general case to a specific case. Tangerine Restaurant has been promoting who are looking for platform of budding artists, again different budding artists periodically. So CB has to be a combination. Okay. So CB is available here. CB is not available here. CB is not available here. CB is available here. Okay, the good thing about this again is that CB is available in both these choices. So now we need to look at, should it be AD or DA? Between AD and DA, again my point would be that DA would be a better option. The one plane walls here, these are not art galleries. These are again we are talking about, these walls are not art galleries, these are restaurants. Okay. So DA would be a better option. So I will go with choice A. Okay. Question of reasoning. I hope all of you were able to solve it. If not, then I will do it. Otherwise, we'll jump to the next one. So if you want me to solve it, just let me know. Okay. Need to solve this. Sam, Joe, Tim, Lo, Ken, etc. are there. 10 children. There are exactly 3 distinct pairs of siblings and 4 other children in this group. So 3 pairs of siblings, that means 6 brothers and sisters. Okay. 3 distinct pairs. No two children in the group apart from the three pairs are related to each other. Mr. Max selects one pair from three pairs of siblings and two children from the other four to make group in the group to make teams of four. He repeats the exercise several times. Some of the teams selected. So in each of these there are a brother sister combination or a pair of siblings and two non-connected individuals. So in each of these there are two who are brother, sister or sibling, and there are two who are not connected to the others at all. Okay? We need to identify which of the following is definitely a pair of siblings. So when you look at, I started looking at this question, I started by saying, okay, how do I identify the sibling? I could not, so I said, let me see who are definitely not the sibling. So when I look at 1 and 4, 1 and 4 have Sam. Den is there in 1, Den is there in this also, and May is available in all. So Sam, Den and May, all three of them are available in 1 and 4. That means the pair of sibling has to be between Sam, Den and May. Or in other words, Tim cannot be a sibling because Tim is not here, while the other three are available in 1 and 4, Tim is not a sibling available in the other in statement 4. Similarly, in group 4, Bob is there but not available in 1. So comparing 1 and 4, we can easily say Tim and Bob cannot be the pair of siblings, are the unconnected people. So given that Tim and Bob cannot be the answers, Tim and Bob are not here also. Tim and Bob are not the pair of siblings. So in statement 2, I am left with Ken, Lo and Joe. Sibling is one of these. But when I come to statement group 3, only Jan and Emmy are the ones. Because Tim and Bob are not siblings, so Jan and Emmy have to be siblings. And choice B. Okay. Next question. Desertification, fill in the blank. Desertification, creation of desert-like condition where none existed before, is the result of the dash of weathers. It can be vagaries of weather. It cannot be predictability. It has to be unpredictability of weather. Caprice of weather, capricious weather is not a very common used thing. Omination again cannot be, right? But even if I think capricious for weather can be used, let's just go further. Of weather and climate or the mismanagement of the land, or in most cases some combination of both, some notion of both cannot happen. Correct answer is A. The good thing about multiple fill in the blanks in a question is that you can keep eliminating and getting to the answer. Here, strictly speaking, you should have got the answer based on the first one. Vagaries itself was a good enough hint to get the answer. Another fill in the blank. Recent years have brought minority-owned business in the United States dash opportunities. Greater natural opportunities does not make. Idiosyncratic opportunities again does not make sense. Unparalleled, unprecedented, yes. Possibly unprecedented, but unparalleled also need not be, could also be correct. As well as new and dash is. New and conventional is not possible. New and significant, new and unconventional. New is in any case unconventional. Yes. So when I am looking at question 53, B and D are eliminated because of preternatural and idiosyncratic. C is incorrect because of conventional. Because when we talk about new, you cannot have conventional. Conventional is old, something which is tried and tested. So new and significant, this should be the correct answer. So C is incorrect. Correct answer is A. Okay. Why not Sam and then in the previous? Okay, we'll just come back to. Okay, let's do this fill in the blank and we'll go to that question again. Unemployment does not have the same dash consequences. Does not have the same dire consequences. Yes. Calamitous. Yes. Some calamity could be an answer. Cornucopian. No, definitely not. Ominous. Maybe, but not very strong, but yes, I won't rule it out. So choice C is incorrect because the first blank. Cornucopian cannot be the correct word out here. As it did in 1930s when most of the unemployed were primary breadwinners. when income and earning were usually much closer to the margin of subsistence, and when there were no dash social programs for those failing in the labor market. No countervailing social labor, yes, countervailing something offset. No invalidated, D is definitely incorrect because of invalidated. No offset social program, no countervailing social program to offset the loss, yes, but offset social programs is incorrect. Correct answer is choice A. Okay. Quickly going back to the question of this one, the reasoning question about the. Okay. Coming here, come look at the group 1 and group 4. Sam, Den, and May are present in group 1 as well as in group 4, first of all. Now this means the pair of sibling has to be 2 out of these 3. That the pair of sibling will be from Sam, Den, or May. 2 out of these 3 are definitely a pair of siblings. Or in other words, I can say Tim and Bob are definitely not the pair of siblings, or cannot be a part of the same pair of siblings. So if Tim and Bob are not the pair of siblings, keep crossing them out from others also. Sorry. So Bob cannot be a pair of sibling out here. Bob cannot be a pair of sibling out here. Tim cannot be a pair of sibling. So when you look at group 2, 2 of the 4 have to be a pair of siblings, 2 have to be not connected. Now Tim and Bob are not connected, so that means Jan and Emmy have to be connected, or they have to be the pair of siblings. Okay. I hope that explains it to you, Sanchi, and a couple of others who have asked for this thing. Yeah, Sam and then maybe, but we can't be sure. Okay. So Jan and Emmy are definitely, based on group 3, we can say that Tim and Bob are not a pair, so definitely they are ruled out. Since every group has to have 1 pair and 1 unconnected, so Jan and Emmy have to be the answer there. Okay, question number 55. Okay, do we want me to solve this question, or this has been done? Okay. Okay. Question 55 to 57, is it required? Yes, Mayank wants it, so let's quickly go through it and solve it for Mayank also. Let me just see if we have a wait. Okay. Okay. So we have 4 horses. So let me just quickly write down race 1, race 2, race 3, race 4. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now going to the question, the data. H1, H2, H3, H4 are 4 horses that participate in each of these 4 races. Each horse is owned by a different owner among Rahul, Dharma, W, Ritesh. Rahul, Dharma, W, Ritesh. Okay, so Rahul, Dharma, W, Ritesh. Okay. None of the 4 horses finish in the same position more than 2 out of 4 races. So a horse can come in the same position and maximum of 2 races. So he can be in the first position maximum of 2 times, or second position maximum of 2 times, and so on and so forth. Okay. In each of the races, the 4 horses were given ranks 1, 2, 3, 4 according to the position at which they finished in the race. It is known that in race 1, H2 finished 3rd and Ritesh's horse finished 1st. R1, race 1, H2 finished 3rd. Sorry. In race 1, H2 finished 3rd. And Ritesh's horse finished 1st. Okay. Wait. Next. Finished 1st. In race 2, H2 finished 1st. In race 2, H2 finished 1st. Okay. H2 finished 1st. and Ritesh was finished third. Okay, so Ritesh comes third now. So I'm just writing it here, Ritesh again. Okay. So statement 1 we have done completely. Statement 2, in raise 4, H2 third and H3 fourth. Raise 4, H2, H3 third, fourth. Raise 4, H2 and H3 third and fourth. So statement 2 also has been used completely. Statement 3, W's was finished in the same position in raise 1 and raise 2, raise 3, raise 4. Okay, so W's was finished in the same position. W's was finished in the same position in first two races and the last two races. So W cannot be H2. Okay. So even if you want to put it H1, H2, H3, H4, so W cannot be H2 in any case. Okay, so let's come back to it because we still need to fill it up. Raise 4, statement 4, in raise 4, H1, H3 interchange their position. At which definition? Raise 2. Raise 4, H1 and H3 interchange their position with respect to raise 2. So raise 1 and raise 4, raise 2 and raise 4. So raise 4, raise 2, H1 and H2 have, H1 and H3 have interchanged their position. So raise 2 and raise 4. So H1 and H3. So H3 is here. H3 cannot be here. H3 cannot be here in raise 2. So H3 could be here or here. Okay. What is H3 the horse of Ritesh? We don't know, so we'll come back to it again. Let's go to statement 5. 3 and 4 we'll come back to them later. In raise 3, H3 finished fourth. In raise 3, H3 finished fourth. In raise 3, H3 finished fourth. Okay, again. In raise 3, H3 finished fourth and H4 finished second. H4 finished second. Okay. Okay, so H3 finished fourth and H4 finished second. Now we know, just going back to the previous statement, statement 4. In raise 4, H1, H3 interchange their position. Raise 4 and raise 2, H1 and H3 have interchanged their position. H1 and H3. So H1 could be here or here. But if H1 is here in raise 4, then it should have been here in raise 2. Okay. But then H3 would have been here, but not possible. So H1 cannot be here. So H1 has to be here. Just to repeat, in raise 4, H1, H3 interchange their position. Raise 4 and raise 2, H1 and H3 have interchanged their position. Okay. So if H1 is available, H1 is here in raise 4, then H3 should have been here in raise 1, but that is not possible in raise 2, but this is not possible. So H1 cannot be here, and hence H1 has to be in the second position. So if H1 is here and H3 is here, so in this raise 2, H3, H1, the interchange position are given. So H1, H2, H3, so Ritesh is nothing but H4. So Ritesh is equal to H4. So Ritesh is H4, this is out, this is out, this is out. Similarly, this is out, this is out, this is out. Okay. Coming back to the statements. Statement 6, Rahul's horse did not finish in first in any of the 4 races. Rahul's horse did not finish first in any race. Okay, so H1, so just completing this, H1, H2, H3, so this should be H4. Ritesh is H4, so Ritesh is H4. Okay, so Ritesh is H4, that is done. Okay, which is the other statement? Okay, statement 3. W's horse finishes the same position 1, 2 and 3, 4. So W's horse same position in 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So 3 and 4. 3 and 4. So H3 should be W's horse. Okay. So W's horse should be H3 because he's come in the same position both the same. H4 is here. So H1 can again not be the same position. H2 is the only one, but H2 cannot be in the same position in the area 2. So H3 has to be W's all, and H3 is then out here, and H1 out here. H3 has to be W. Okay. Okay. So what are we left with? H3, H4, H1, and H2. Okay. So H1 and H2 are left. So H2 has come third in two races. So H2 cannot come third in the third race. So H2 will come here, and H1 will come here. Okay. So I think we have got all the data, W's horse, and so on and so forth. Okay. And so we need to now solve the question. Why can't H3 finish third in race 2? Why can't H3 finish third in race 2? Third in race 2 is H4, which is Latatius horse. Latatius horse is H4, so that is why it cannot be the one. Okay, so that gives you the breakup. And Rahul's horse did not come first in any of the races. So Rahul could be either H1 or H3. Okay. But H3 is not Rahul, so Rahul has to be H1. So Rahul has to be H1 because H3 is already W. So this goes out. Okay. So now you can complete all of them. Just go through this one again yourself, and you should be able to get the answers. Okay. So after this, I don't think there's anything much to be done. Okay. Question 58. Now these are the most difficult questions always, and these are the ones where in doubt you should not even mark an answer. Can you solve LR set 43, 44? Yes, I'll go back to 43, 44 in a little while. Let's complete the next 2-3 questions. So do it only if you are 100% sure about the answers. When in doubt, these are the questions which you have to leave. Okay. Okay. He showed me up by showing the latest computers will be on show in the exhibition. Okay. Now again repeating. Extremely difficult to prepare for these for the simple reason there are umpteen number of usages which are there, and until unless you know a specific usage to be definitely incorrect, do not mark an answer. When in doubt, leave. He showed me up by snoring is the incorrect usage, but as I said, when in doubt, leave and do not worry too much about it. Typically this will be one at best 2 questions, and it does not matter at all because hardly anyone gets these questions right. So you always safer in terms of leaving these questions rather than attempting them. Okay. Question number 59. Again the same thing out here. Okay. Same thing out here. For know the answer, mark it. Not sure about the answer, just leave it. Okay. Parajumble, odd man out. Okay. Odd man out in terms of parajumble. Here the way to do it is look at the mandatory combinations which are possible. The one which you are not able to connect to others is the one which has to be ruled out. Let's go through the statement. The exceptions allowed are few and clearly specified. Okay. Where we do not know, but okay, at this point of time, they extend to regional trade agreements. They could mean the exceptions. So possibly these are connected, but let's look at them further. They extend to regional trade agreements, preferential treatment for developing countries, invocation of non-application clause by the exception member against a newly acceding country. So the exceptions could be referring to they. They extend to, the exceptions extend to difference, could be a possible thing. The most favored nation rule applies to all issues included within the mandate, within the World Trade Organization. Actually, C-B seems to be a better combination. So either way, I'll say C and B are very, very strongly connected. So C and B cannot be the answer. My answer at this point of time, A or D. Okay. The most favored nation rule applies to all issues. Okay. Okay. the same principle of reciprocity, however, has to be in a sole point with relations of developed and developing countries. New concepts have been included out here, developed and developing countries, which are not there in A, B or C. So most probably D is incorrect. Also, when you go further, we can say C, A, B seems to be a good combination. Most favored rules applies to all issues included within the mandate of WTA. The exception allowed a few, they extend to this. So CAB is a combination. D is the correct answer, not connected, because it is introducing concepts which are not mentioned in A, B or C. It is introducing ideas which are not mentioned in A, B or C. The correct answer is D. Okay, there was a request for solving DI set. Which one was that? 43, 44. So okay, let's go to questions 43, 44. What was this? Okay. Okay, during a political rally, 7 leaders of a party, Ajit, Ambika, Azad, Kamal, Kapil, Mukul, Pranab, are sitting on 7 chairs arranged in a row, not necessarily in the same order. It is known that Ambika is sitting beside Kapil. Okay. Pranab is the party president, so he is sitting in the middle of the row. So Pranab is here. Statement 2 is taken care of. Either Ajit or Kamal, but not both, is sitting at one of the ends of the row. So let me assume Ajit is sitting here or Kamal is sitting here. KA or AJ. Okay. Either Ajit or Kamal are sitting at one of the end of the row, but not both. Azad and Mukul are sitting as far as possible from each other. So that means Azad or Mukul is here, then the other person should be out here. Okay. So Azad Mukul can be on position 2 or in position 7. Only then they will be as far as possible from each other. Okay. Next, we know that Ambika and Kapil are sitting together. Ambika and Kapil are sitting together, so they have to be necessarily in 5, 6. Whether it is 5, 6 or 6, 5 or Ambika Kapil or Kapil Ambika, we cannot say, but these are very sure. So if Ajit is sitting here, again for Kapil sitting here, Azad, Mukul, and similarly Azad, Mukul, one of them will be here. Ambika, because Pranav is here, or Kapil out here. So if Ajit is sitting in position 1, then Kamal should be in position 3. But if Kamal is in position 1, then Ajit should be in position 3. Now you have 2 possible cases and you can solve the answers. Okay. Okay, question number 50 again. And how is W's horse? Let's see question 50 and let's go back to W again. Okay, question 50 is slightly difficult, but the key again is here. If you look at this thing, these are not art galleries. Okay. These is talking about these something. Okay. Statement 2, Tangerine restaurant has been promoting work of art. Statement 3, restaurants in city are converting. So this is a general statement and this is a specific case of this statement. So C and B are connected to each other is my first thing out here. Restaurants in the city are converting their walls into exhibition space. So restaurants in general they are talking about, and B is talking about the specific case. So CB is a mandatory pair. The moment I say CB is a mandatory pair and go to the choices, CB is available in choice A, CB is not available in B, CB is not available in C, CB is available in D. But CB, both choice A and D tell me CBE will come together. So that takes care of part of my problem. Okay, CBE has to be together. Now should it be DA or AD? These are not art galleries. This cannot be this word these has to be explained first. So when I'm looking at these are not art galleries, what are these? It is possibly referring to the concept out here. So DA seems to be a better combination than AD. The one plain walls here have a new aura stains holding different color themes and using adorn them. These are not art galleries but restaurants. The one plain walls here. Okay, so DA is a better combination. Okay, okay, we'll go back and do the last set of reasoning again. let me clean this up and okay, we'll clean this and do it again for those of you who still have a problem. So this raise 1, raise 2, raise 3, raise 4, position 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Then you had the 4 people, Rahul, Ritesh, then we had Dharma and W, DHAR and DABL. Okay. And then we have H1, H2, H3, H4. Okay. Let's look at each statement one by one. Statement 1. In race 1, H2 finished third and Ritesh's horse finished first. So race 1, H2 finished third. And Ritesh's horse came here. So the moment I have this thing, that means Ritesh's horse cannot be H2. And the second part of statement 1 says, in race 2, H2 finished first and Ritesh came third. Race 2, H2 finished first and Ritesh came third again. Okay. So this is what statement 1 tells us. Yes. So statement 1 is done and we'll not worry about it. Statement 2, in race 4, H2 finished third and H3 finished fourth. So third, fourth in race 4 is H2, H3. H2, H3. Sorry, H2, H3 in race 4. Race 4, H2, H3. H2 and H3 have come third and fourth in race 4. So second statement also we have taken care of and we will not worry about it now. Statement 3, when we read, we did not have a specific position, so we will hold on. Statement 4 again we will hold on. Race 5. Statement 5, sorry. In race 3, H3 finished 4th and H4 finished 2nd. Race 3, H3, 4th. Race 3, H3 finished 4th. Race 3, H3 finished 4th. And H4 finished 2nd. H4 finished 2nd. So H4 finished 2nd. This is what statement number 5 is telling us. Statement number 5 is telling us. Statement 6. Rahul's horse did not come first in any of the 4 races. Rahul's horse did not come first in any of the 4 races. So that also means Rahul cannot be the owner of H2. Because his horse did not come first in any of the 4 races. Okay. Now let's go back to the 2 statements which are left. Statement 4. In race 4, H1, H3 interchange their position, at which they finish in race 2. So race 2 and 4, H1 and H3 have interchanged their position. So R2, R4, it is H1, H3 who have interchanged their position. Okay. So let's go back here. Race 4. Okay. We'll come back to it. Okay. So race 4 and race 2, H1, H3 have interchanged their position. So if H3 cannot be in position 4 in R2, because a horse can come in the same position only twice. H3 has already come fourth in R3 and R4, so it cannot come fourth in R2. So the only positions possible are 3 and 2. Okay. So that means H3 can come here or H3 can come here. These are the only 2 possible things. Okay. Similarly, when I look at H1, H1 can come first or H1 can come second in race 4. Okay. But if it comes first, then H3 should have come first in R2, which is not possible. So H1 will have to come here. So race 4, H1, H3 are 2 and 4. Or in other words, in race 2, H1, H3 will be 4 and 2. H1, H3. So Ritesh has to be H4. So Ritesh has to be H4. Okay, rotation has to be H4. Now coming to position 3, H2 has come in position 3 twice, so it cannot come again position 3. So in raise 3, H2 has to come first. So H1 has to come here. So H1, H2, H3, this will be H4. This rotation H4 in any case. Okay. So H1, we are left with H1 and H3. H1, H3 is a statement we are missing out on. Okay, yes, we are missing out on statement 3. Statement 3 says W's horse finished in the same position in 1 and 2, and also in 3 and 4. W's horse comes in the same position in 1, 2. So W's horse comes in the same position in 1, 2, same position in 1, 2, and same position in R3, R4. So 1, 2, so the only horse which is come in the same position in R3, R4 is H3. So W has to be H3. Because H3 has come in the same position in R3, R4. Okay. So H3 has to be W's horse. Okay. This is fine then. This goes out, this goes out, this goes out, and this. Okay. So W is H3, H3. So H3 has to come here, and H1 will come out here. Okay. I hope this explains it. If you still not got it, request you to do it yourself with the statements. Okay. Anurag, I will be doing a session on SQC methods in a little while. When I say little while, in about a month or so. Till then, just go through these methods and you will start getting the hang of it. At the end of the day, SQC methods talk only about using the choices, using common sense, trying to identify the pattern, and not using conventional mathematical methods. Every paper which we do, we will talk about SQC methods, and you'll understand them as we go along. Okay. I hope that takes care of this paper for you. This recording of the session will in any case be available by let's say today be on Saturday. So by Monday evening it should be available, so that in case you want to go through it, you can do it again. Okay. All the best to you. Thank you very much. All the best. I will close the session now. Okay. Another time, general followed by specific is the norm. Okay. Though occasionally you will find a specific leading to general also, but most of the time you give a general case and then you come to a specific case. Okay.